everyone. Welcome to the Booze and Boobs podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Katrina. Thanks for joining us today as we talk about some of our favorite horror movies.
We created this podcast as a way to give women more of a voice in horror. Men dominate most industries, especially film and television.
And that also goes for podcasts. We'll focus on female characters, motivations, or just expectations placed on women in horror, even if the situation is happening to a man.
We're excited you're here, and we hope you love it.
Now let's get to today's movie.
Okay. Let me just put on my long legs and... Okay. I mean, I've been saying it to myself for the past month, so I mean, I know how to do it. There she is, the almost birthday girl, which is me. It's me.
Congratulations, you've won.
Congratulations. It's a gift from the church. So, okay. I'm Crazy Pants, and I'm so excited to talk about Longlegs. And the reason why I'm extra excited to talk about Longlegs is because I have put myself as the main character, and it's about killing girls whose birthdays are on the 14th, and my birthday's on the 14th. So I'm just like, oh my God, it's about me. So
of course it is. Well, here's my thing. I'm not a hater, but like, did they go into why the 14th at all? Because I'm like, the 14th is such a
great day.
It's a dumb number. It's a great day, but the number, I don't know. You know how like we associate like letters with numbers and things like that.
I know that we do.
What is 14? What is 14?
It's me. Hi. I'm the birthday girl. It's me.
Well, all right. I won't do any more 14 slander, but I just had to put that out there. But like, I wish the number 14 meant something other than the birthdays.
I'm guessing it could literally be that the writer, Oscar Perkins, like maybe that's his like wife's birthday or something, and he just picked today. Who cares? As an author, sometimes we just do shit. Okay.
I mean, fair enough.
I guess I did specifically pick to be born on the 14th. My mom was induced 3 times before I was like, okay, well, I'll finally show up now.
Well, I think I chose to be Capricorn because I was due in December and I waited till middle of January. So
I'm very happy to hear that because I was due August 9th and I was born September 14th.
Your mom hated you.
She still does, don't worry.
Did she bleed and bleed and bleed?
She said that me and my brother were actually super easy. Like, she was like a fan of the epidural. She's like, get this shit out, bye.
My mom said that she had really hard labors. Like, she was in there for like 10 plus 12 hours for some of ours.
That's awful.
And I was the biggest baby, and I was the last one.
You are the biggest baby.
Hey, you're a baby. I'm not a baby. You are. I ain't no goddamn baby.
Oh yeah, that I forgot what I ain't no goddamn baby. Oh no, it's Tammy and Tammy.
Yeah, my bills are paid.
Mine are not.
I miss them. Neither are mine. Let's be honest. I am a baby. My bills are not paid right now.
No. And I did have a sody earlier.
I had one, yes. I had 2 sodies yesterday.
Ooh.
But not of the diet variety. So it did not cancel out any calories.
I had a DC with my taco leftovers. So
I saw a video of this guy identifying Diet Cokes from each like restaurant can and bottle, and I was like, we need to do this with Rachel.
See, my thing, it's like I don't go to like you could only do a can, a bottle, a movie theater, and like a McDonald's. I'm like, I don't go to Burger King, I don't go to Wendy's, I don't do those other things.
Yeah, just a random gas station.
Oh, a Quick Trip DC. Well, when I go to Quick Trip, I get a tea.
Yeah, and there's something weird about fountain diet drinks that just don't do it. It's not good.
I just like I go through like all the teas and I just mix them.
Okay, Psycho.
Thank you. Well, okay. Speaking of Psycho, good segue into the movie we're discussing, Longlegs, 2024, starring me. I'm the star. It's me. Um, Written and directed by Osgood Perkins, who is the son of Anthony Perkins, who's the star in Psycho, Norman Bates.
Oh, good job.
And you've seen Legally Blonde,
Of course.
so you know, like the nerdy guy that L like. So they're in the study group, and I don't remember. They're all of these people are listing off their accomplishments in the little study group, and I think he had done like the Peace Corps or something that I don't remember. And then when Elle is on her like montage journey of being a girl boss, she's trying to reach for the
The tall big dude.
yeah, and he comes and
Yeah.
picks up the thing for her. That's him. That's the
Oh,
director. That's Osgood
he
Perkins.
he's the one that the girls were making fun of him, and she was like, "How dare you?"
Yes,
And
yes,
she like was his wingman.
yeah. So that's our
Oh,
guy.
good
He is a
job,
man of many
Osgood.
tastes, and I appreciate that because
Yeah.
I also love pink and arguing. And then I love myself on the 14th and serial killers and my birthday. So
This
like
all worked out.
I mean, it can't honestly get any more relatable to me than this guy, apparently.
Is he single? He is tall.
He is married with children. And I mean, I guess if he asked, I would, but we could just be friends. That'd be cool too.
Fair enough.
So to get into the details, we discussed the director, notable actors, Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage. You might have heard of him once or twice. Um, Alicia Witt, have a story about her, and then Blair Underwood. So, respectively, they play Agent Lee Harker, Longlegs, the mom, Agent Carter, and then there is a notable guest appearance by Satan in this movie. He's there.
Satan himself decided to take time out of his busy schedule for this
Apparently, he's
movie.
not that busy because he's just been popping up all over the place around this girl. So,
Well, he's putting off all his duties on these other people so they can do his dirty work for him.
the dirty, dirty work.
Like a rag. It's so hard. Like how like he didn't up after that. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you met Nicolas Cage? One thing he does not do
I
is
have not.
crack. He
I mean, that's
is,
fair.
I mean, have you ever heard of someone more committed to the bit? Like perfection. See, okay. My my friend Marissa, you might have heard of her. Maybe she's been here a time or two. Um, we have our little tism tivity going where we're ranking. We just like took a selection of 10 Nicolas Cage movies and we're ranking them on how hot he is, how insane he is, his commitment to whatever bit is going on. If we are judging the plot, the cast, the rewatchability, the quotability, like we just set up all of these categories. And then, I mean, this was a couple months ago, we started that. And then this movie comes out with Nic Cage. And it's like, this is literally why we have this category. This man has been in like 130 movies and he is crazier in every single one of them. I was having a
Yeah.
hard day the other day and I was like, can we just watch National Treasure, please? And I'm sitting over there like tee hee heeing. I love that movie. It's a perfect film.
I do like National Treasure, but I have to say I like The Librarian more, which you said you haven't seen. So I'm gonna need you to get on that, please.
That's a movie that he's in.
No, it's just similar. It's in the same vein of National Treasure.
Oh, like story wise. Like,
Yeah, like this guy becomes a librarian and then has to like save the world, like these artifacts, like find them and protect them. It sounds terrible now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's great. It's a fun watch.
oh, that sounds like fun. Like, that's what I was when I was taking notes for this movie. It's like I like when movies like it feels like a movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be all realistic. I'm like, I'm in this world where this is the plot that's driving. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
realistic. Like it's okay sometimes to suspend your
Hmm.
disbelief and just watch stuff happen. So, uh, did you see the talking points that I wrote down? I'm open to others, but this is what I put.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered them. I like
Okay.
how you put housing crisis at the end of it.
I went back and added that one because I mean, okay, so this movie is set in the 90s. I want to say it's 92, but then I don't know, is it actually 92 or it's just that I want it to be 92 because
Mm.
me.
Well, think of it this way. In 1971 is when she was originally visited, and they said
Wasn't
20
it
years later.
wasn't it 93?
71 is when she was originally visited as a child.
I can actually tell you because
September 13th, 1971 is when she was first visited,
well, her
right?
birthday's in January, so
Oh,
definitely
January.
not. Actually, Kayla sent me something because with the last time we watched it, we were talking. Okay, okay, I can tell you. Uh, January 14th, 1966 is Lee Harker's birth date.
And that was in 66 is when Carrie Ann's family died, right?
That was the camera family was 1975. Uh, Lee was visited January 13th, 1974, and then the events of this movie take place in January 1993. So I was alive when this happened. I was just next on the list.
I was not there yet. I still
You,
needed another year to bake.
I know, you baby.
It's fine.
Yeah. So thank you to whoever was on the Longlegs Reddit, uh, ex Nilo Arts for making this list of everybody's visit
Oh,
and
all the
death
birthdays.
dates. So good job. Um, so that's where we've got. So the talking points that were listed, I put generational trauma, woman in a man's world, childhood trauma, regular trauma, and then the housing crisis. And I added that because there's a scene where Lee is at her house, like her own house. And I was like, we can't have houses anymore. So I was like, let's talk this.
Well, and that's the thing. Rachel made a note basically saying, like, this is why we don't live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, but that's literally where I live, is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was a note to you.
Yeah, it's fine. I like it. Oh, speaking of living in the middle of nowhere, I have to tell them about what happened this week.
No, I want you to tell them about what happened this week because this is a cautionary tale of why we do not live in the middle of nowhere.
My dad also lives less so in the middle of nowhere, but like still the neighbors are, you can see the houses and stuff like that, but like outside town at least 5 minutes basically. So close, not far from the highway, not crazy. Anyway, Yuri and I were going over to my dad's to go swim in his swimming pool because it was 94 degrees outside and we thought it would be a good idea. So I pull into his driveway and there's a little black car driving out of the driveway. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't recognize them. So I pull into the like grass so they can pass me. And they roll down their window and they're like, oh, sorry, sorry. Our car was overheating. We just had to pull over because our car was overheating and the gauge is stuck and little, and they're just like frantic. And then they book it. They just leave. And I'm like, okay. Like, I was like, no worries. Like, I don't know who these were, but they did look like they, did a little drugs here and there. And so I went up and I went into the house. I'm like, Dad, did you not see the people in your driveway? He's like, no, because he had all his blinds closed and his curtains were shut. We go swimming. And then when we're getting changed into like dry clothing, the fucking KBI, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, rolls up. And this dude's like, with a flashlight, don't shoot. Like, telling my dad, don't shoot. Um, and it's like, hey, did you guys see a car or whatever? Because they thought they were trying to dump drugs because they were on the run from the police. So they literally brought out their police dog to sniff around and everything. They never found anything. My dad didn't find anything the next day. Um, but yeah, so people will apparently try to dump drugs in your big ass yard if you live in the middle of nowhere
And that's just one reason. The other reason is that a serial killer and the devil will come to your house.
and live in your basement.
Mm.
I don't have a basement. It's fine. There is no downstairs here.
Yeah, I want to talk about. Oh, there's so many things I want to talk about. I want to talk about everything with the movie. I want to talk about deeper meanings and like our talking points, and I want to talk about all the devil sightings that I have been able to determine and confirm.
I didn't even
I want
catch
to.
all the ones that you saw.
So okay, let's start with the devil sightings. Um, the day I was going to see the movie, I saw on Twitter something that was like, the director has hidden 15 sightings of the devil. Can you find them all? And I sent it to Kayla and I was like, the devil's in this movie? What's I had zero idea of any plot other than
Mm-hmm.
just people were talking about it. Nic Cage is in it. Go see it. That's all I know. And I was like, okay. I did see something prior to going to see it. Like there was something about the 14th just being an important date. No, not that it was a birthday or
Mm-hmm.
anything. I saw one to bring it back to the last podcast. I saw one like tweet of somebody who had posted a picture of like SpongeBob's driver's license and his birthday is June 14th and someone was like, "No, SpongeBob." And I was like, I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, I was like, that's weird. What's going on with the 14th? Um, so the plot of the movie, the very basic plot is serial killer Longlegs goes after families that have daughters that are born on the 14th. So that's like the most basic plot of the point. Um, which is me. So yay. My family, not so lucky, but I finally get my wish, so it's all good. Um, but the devil sightings, so when I was watching it and I knew that there were devil sightings, I was like looking all over the place. I didn't know what kind of devil it was going to be. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know if it was going to be like a little red guy. I didn't know if it was going to be like the goat demon, like with the horns, which it is. I didn't know anything about what it was supposed to be. And then it wasn't until when Lee is at her mom's house and you can see the horns in the little door window when she's looking at the basement. That was the first time I was like, oh, that's the kind of devil it is. So I saw it a couple other times watching it the first time. And then, okay. So I had told Katrina, I have so many things to talk about this movie. Um, so how last podcast I had told you I saw it twice in theaters,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't tell you why I saw it the second time because you didn't know about the birthday and the 14th and blah blah blah. So I think it was Adam Tickets or something like that did a special like the weekend after I saw it or whatever that if your birthday's on the 14th, you could get a free ticket to go see the movie.
No way.
Yeah. So I went by myself to go watch it. And I was at first I was the only person in the theater for a very long time and I'd already seen the movie and I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, this is obviously a trap. They just want to get all of us
They're trying to set
together.
you up. They're like taking notes of like who all came to so they could kill you and your family.
Yeah, so as soon as I saw, I'm like, this is definitely a trap, but I'm going. So that's why I couldn't tell you because you didn't know. But when I told when Kayla listened to the Tremors podcast and she was like, it was funny when you couldn't tell Katrina why you went the second time. And then she was like, I can't wait to hear what you think about me knowing I was walking into a trap.
Yeah, it's crazy. I Whoever set the trap knew Rachel well enough to know that she would self-sacrifice herself just to get a free movie. First of all, a free movie. Second of all, a freaking horror movie that she really likes, and that relates to her.
And I was hoping I'd die. So it was for me.
Yeah, it took
I
me
go ahead.
the second time I watched it, I definitely noticed more of like the shadows, and I was so tense the first time because Yuri fell asleep very early on in the movie, so I'm by myself basically, and like they keep just focusing on like door frames and windows and hallways, and I'm like, can you fucking stop? Because I'm just waiting. I'm just like, can we move on, please? I don't need to see it. I
This movie is so I think it's brilliant. I think take away the relation to me, moi. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's fun. I think it's shot really well. I think everything is really intentional. I think the performances are great. So
and
I was,
it's definitely got some shock value to it because like I was like just along for the ride, and she's like, in the beginning when they're like knocking on doors and stuff, and she's like, oh, it's that house, and that dude just gets blown away with no warning. I'm like, I don't know what I just signed up for because
no,
we're starting off real strong here.
yeah, like
And then,
what is this movie?
yeah, I was like, is that him? Because you already caught him. What do you mean? Like, I thought that was Longlegs the first time. And I was
Well,
like,
I've
that's not
seen,
him.
yes, gosh, I know.
I'm assuming it was like a different case of some sort, but like,
I think so. I
yeah.
saw some stuff that it's like because it's like, how do we go through this without going like specifically scene by scene? But it's like I could talk for 12 podcasts about every single scene.
Mhm.
So how do we like bring this together and still
I
be
don't know.
entertaining? See, here's the thing. I love to talk. Welcome to episode 24 or whatever this is. Um, but I just don't know how much other people really want to listen.
There's always the pause button. Like, if you
About
don't
to come
like it,
back. Side note, Katrina and I got our first YouTube comment.
yes,
And
look at us go.
okay, hold on. Let me bring. Oh, did I just get another order? Fuck. Love it. So happy, so blessed. So the other day I just got an email from YouTube that we had a comment on our Tremors episode, and I just recently had like figured the thing out to push all of our episodes to YouTube, and nobody listens to us, and that's fine. Like nobody listens to us now, so who cares? I want to find the comment. Okay. It says, well, I'll say this. You girls are committed, like laugh cry emoji. And I texted it to Katrina and I said, I think this is an insult, which is fair. Like, totally fine. Like, if you're not into what we're given, totally okay. But I was honestly just so thrilled. I was like, but this means someone found us on YouTube. That means our algorithm is getting out there.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, I'll take it. Like,
I'm like, you
like
commented.
any interaction is welcome, whether it's
Hey,
hate or not.
all press is good press when you have no press.
Exactly. Nobody knows who we are, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
So I won't say this lady's I assume it's a lady, her at, but thank you for listening. Like
Yeah.
that's something.
If
So
you chose to come back, welcome.
it's my birthday.
So Rachel did the scene titles this time, you guys. This is
Rachel,
like the first time Rachel did scene titles.
I
So,
tried really hard. What's your grade?
uh, trying to scroll through and just reread. One of them says "Out behind the barn, help! I'm no good at scene titles." I'd say for the first try, it's a good like 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
You're not happy.
I mean, I don't feel like they're anywhere as good as yours, but I just put stuff in there.
You haven't had practice. It's fine.
Yeah. So, because I'm the one in my books, I'm like, chapter one, chapter two.
All you have to do is name the book and then write it. How hard is that?
I uh I didn't name the series. I named the first book. I didn't name the second or the third, which is fine. I think we only have one other title that's official, and I did not name that, and that's also okay. I don't know.
You're just not a namer. It's fine.
I'm not a namer.
But
So
if you wanted, we could go by scene title, like we did that one time with oh, what movie was it? When did we start that? I can't even remember the movies we've just done.
Tremors, Insidious.
Barbarian.
Oh, duh. I think Barbarian's probably our best episode.
I really liked that one.
Yay, us. Hey, lady who didn't like Tremors, listen to our Barbarians episode and then see.
Yeah, go back. So I think Barbarian is the one where we started we just went by scene title and talked about it and then just kind of flowed from there. So
Um,
we can just go by rather than detail of what's happening, we just talk about like the scene as a whole and like maybe if there's parts of it that have interesting meanings or something like that, then we can talk about bring that up.
do you want to do the summary?
Not really. I mean, I don't care.
Don't be looking over your shoulder when we're about to talk about Longlegs over here.
I don't know what happened.
I have such a scary story also for this podcast related to Longlegs.
I fully understand why that was so scary. When I was what? Oh, it's in my notes. Okay.
It's in your notes. My story?
No, like I was making notes of like things to bring up about the movie. And I was like, in my notes, I said, oh my, oh my God, I understand why those kids knocking scared the fuck out of you. I was like, oh, fuck me, no.
I could cry just thinking about it. I was so scared.
I
So,
told, so, all right, to summarize, Longlegs is about a satanic serial killer who targets girls who are 9 to 10 years old around and born on the 14th. Um, Basically, he does this by having a woman dress up as a nun drop off a doll that has been, I don't know what the word is, but he does some magic to it, is what they call it. Has like a metal ball in its head that influences the family to kill each other. And so this movie is about an FBI agent named Lee Harkins, who is
Parker.
put on the oh, yep, what she said, Lee Harker, who's put on the case to try and help solve it. Then they learn while she's on the case, she is moving this case along very easily, and that is because she is touched by the devil herself because she has her own doll with a metal magic ball in it. And her mother is the nun helping the devil kill all these people to allow her daughter to grow up.
That was honestly such a good summary. I can't believe you did that in like a minute.
I was I think I was possessed by the devil. I think maybe that's what happened. I
Don't say
think
that.
I'm just kidding. The devil made no. I'm surprised. Good for me.
That was really good. Yeah, I think that it's great. I mean, and even the director, Oz Perkins, he's talked about that Silence of the Lambs, Seven, Zodiac, those were such big influences on the structure and cinematography of this movie, the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s playing into it. He was also talking about, and Nic Cage talked about this too, that like the crux of the movie and like the true inspiration is kind of just drawing from mostly generational trauma, but how your parents raising you and either keeping secrets from you or how they're pushing you into one thing or another affects you growing up. And I mean, like, I guess you can say like some trust issues there as well. Um, so I mean, I only have a minute to say this. So I said Anthony Perkins is Oz Perkins' father. Anthony Perkins was married and obviously had children, and this was back like in the 60s, 50s, 60s. But he died of AIDS, I think in the 90s, and he came out later in life as being gay. So like something that Oz Perkins had talked about, it's like my family kept a lot of secrets from me growing up, and they thought that they were doing things to protect me, but it does affect me as just not being allowed to be part of the conversation or not allowed to have the information to influence my relationships. And I'm not saying that he's saying that he would have had a negative relationship with his dad if he had known that his dad was gay. Like that's not where the conversation comes from. But like when you have to consider, it's like I found something out the other day that about something that happened like 5 years ago that really threw me. So it's, the blindsiding of it all can really affect however you are in the present day. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where he's like pulling from as like an inception point.
Yeah. I mean, knowledge is power. And if you don't give the knowledge, then you take someone's power away.
That's a really good way to put it too. So, um, our recording is about to get cut off, so I guess we're gonna take a break for a second, and then when we come back, we will actually start talking about the movie. Yay!
Or not.
No, I have so much to say about it. So, thanks for listening this long, and give me just like 4 minutes, and I will start a new recording so we can have Longlegs part the. So, I guess let's get started. Recording
Finally.
recording two. I'd say what we were talking about was relevant.
I agree.
It's because I wanted to talk about it. Okay, so we discussed title, director, characters, so we're good. This is a business meeting.
I'm gonna order some food so it counts as a business meeting meal.
That's so smart.
Deduct it from my
Yeah.
10.99.
You guys, Katrina is the CFO for my like book business, like created a spreadsheet, like helped organize a bunch of stuff. She's put in the sweat equity, making book bundles and doing all the stuff. So she might get a Christmas bonus. I'm not getting paid, but maybe she will.
Yeah, right. Once I get financials, like actual like reports put together, then we'll talk. Then we'll see.
You're in. She also created all the spreadsheets and the templates that we use in the podcast. Like she is the business bitch.
That's just fun for me though. It's a
I'm
good time.
I'm just the bitch.
Businessy-ish. Business-ish. It's fine. We're getting off track again.
I'm sorry. Let's talk about what I really want to talk about. Longlegs. Let's go. Boom. So we open red screen. We've got a small aspect ratio. Don't ask me what it is. I went to film school. I should know. I don't care. But it's a small little square instead of being the rectangle. That lets you know it's a period piece. And it's all red. That lets you know it's about to get crazy. And then we fade into a snowy road where we can tell that we are the point of view in the passenger seat of a vehicle, drives up to a white house. There's a little girl inside who sees the car pull up. And then what does she do? She goes downstairs, puts on her coat, and goes outside to investigate. What?
She at least put her coat on. That's all I have to say about that.
She did put her coat on. She goes outside, and it's like the distance from the house to this road where the car is parked as a station wagon is kind of like far because she is like a ways out from the house and she's still only halfway to where the car is. And then we can just see this black shrouded figure in the vehicle. And then you just hear a little cuckoo. And she turns around. And then I did not see this the first time, but you see a figure that's like peeking from around behind the house, like fully go behind the house. I didn't see that the first time. So the second time at the trap, I was like, I'm scared. So this little girl, God bless her, she goes and investigates this strange noise. And then she's in her backyard, still a little bit behind the house, like halfway between the house and this back tree line. And there's nothing there. She doesn't see anything. Looks one way, there's nothing, and then looks back. And then there's just a figure there, this man that we can only see from like the bottom of his nose down to maybe mid thigh, you think?
Scared the crap out of me the first time though.
Oh,
I
yeah. And
knew
then,
I knew something was gonna pop up, but I didn't think it was gonna be like full screen, half a face, like creepy ass dude.
yeah, and it's nothing.
Was not
And
ready.
the sounds that they use, like they use, it's kind of like Psycho. They use a lot of strings and they use like discordant sounds for a lot of the sound design, the like Foley noises too. So like the whole movie is really just set up to be very dreadful and uneasy. And I don't feel like this movie, like you never get a break. Like even when you see Lee at home or whatever, like she's also like a very awkward character. So like you don't get a minute to just be like, huh. Like the whole time my butthole is clenched.
I was just thinking, I'm like, the character of Lee Harker is odd. And like her, you can just tell she's different somehow, but it's like not different enough to like raise huge red flags. Um, it's like, oh, maybe she's just, has like, I don't know, something. But come to find out, it's because she's been like controlled by the devil her whole life, basically. And her mother is also very strange as well. And you can tell in their first like phone calls that it's like there's something off with it.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think every character really like this is the thing, like everyone feels like a full character. They don't feel like movie characters. They're just like all odd and off and then like mixed together, and I just think that it's really well done and well performed.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the figure here with this little girl, and you just see a little bit of him, um and he's like, oh, there she is, the almost birthday girl. And then he is like staring at this little girl who's like looking up at him and like not saying anything. And then he's like, oh, well, I guess I wore my long legs today. So that's where we get the name of the character. Um, and then he's talking about like, you know, him wearing his long legs means like maybe the child can't see him all the way, aka we can't see him all the way. And then he goes, what if I, and then he just like crouches down. You see a split second of his face. You hear the little shrill, and then it goes to title card. Like it's spooky.
Yeah. And they do like it's almost like they did some of the end credits in the beginning, is what it seemed like a little bit, because they had instead of like the names coming up throughout the movie, they just cut, did the red screen again, had some pictures like flash in and out. And then we end up in an FBI meeting room with we don't know that it's Lee Harker, that was the same girl until like it's confirmed later, but you kind of have an inkling of okay, this is her in the future.
Yeah. So the first time we see Lee as her adult self, played by Micah Monroe, she's sitting in like a police briefing, like a detective briefing. They're saying that they're going to go do an old fashioned manhunt, go door to door. Partners have been assigned. And I saw something, I think it was on Twitter, that like the camera's on Lee while the director or whomever is speaking. And when he says that partners have already been assigned, she looks over at who will be her partner. And I saw someone on Twitter say, like, they hadn't announced, at least to our knowledge, like who the partners are. So her looking over is just like a little hint of her quote unquote
Intuition.
psychic intuition.
Yeah.
So,
I I noticed that she looked at him, but I just thought he was being annoying because that's what I thought. So I didn't connect the intuition thing at all. I was like, oh, she just hates him and is hoping it's not him.
I mean, and I think that that's also a fair assessment. Like this movie gives you a lot to, leave to your own devices. So
Hmm.
I like both instances because I think the guy also ends up being a little bit annoying because then they get sent
Oh,
to go to this block or whatever and knock on these house doors, and he's just sitting in the driver's seat and he's like, so I'll be the one that goes up to the door if you just want to hang back and wait. And I'm like, well, me personally, yeah, you go do the work, I'll just sit here. But also, I'm like, no, she is an FBI agent herself. She can do whatever she wants. She doesn't need a man to tell her what to do. But
like divide and conquer, like rude, but at the same
she,
time, yes, put yourself in danger for
yeah,
first.
you go, blonde man. You set yourself up for this. Um, I when I watched the movie at home, I was kind of curious. So like the first shot when so you get there's like duplex houses, like condo, townhouse kind of looking things. Um, the shots are the houses on both sides of the road. The road is in the middle, and the car is driving like towards us and stops. That's like the establishing shot. I kind of think that you might be able to see a devil in the right side window of the house on the right. I've paused it and like kind of looked at it, and I'm like, maybe, kind of, but I feel like it is because when they end up, so Lee gets out of the car when the guy is at another house, and she's just standing on the street, and then she looks over at this house and just stares at it, and he comes up to her and she's like, it's that one. And he's like, how do you know? She's like, I don't know. But I'm like, I get that. Sometimes you just have a gut feeling. So,
Always trust a woman's gut.
mhm.
Like if and when she asked, she's like, we should call for backup. He's like, no, we're not gonna call for backup just on like your gut. And he should have called for backup because he knocked on the door and as soon as he like showed the picture of like seen this man, boom, shotgun straight to the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is one of the this is the first time that we get the good old Lee Harker breathing scene. Oh my God,
We talk about
stop
the breathing.
breathing. Why are you breathing? Like, I get it. It's part of like the, it's stressful. She's, going through this house, clearing rooms, trying to find this man who just murdered her partner. But like multiple times throughout this movie, it's just Lee Harker going, and I'm like,
Can't hear
I
the way
can't.
you're breathing in the microphone, but I know that you are doing it exactly right. Like she is breathing.
Maximum oxygen. I'm
Yeah,
like,
she's got it. So I mean, like that is kind of like one thing where so there's a few instances in this movie that I think are for the audience, like where you see the black smoke appear a couple times, not the devil part. I mean, obviously not the devil part, but the black smoke that's like in the brain and everything isn't what the characters can see. Like that's like a metaphor for the
hmm.
audience to see. So I'm like, I'm kind of wondering, like, is her breathing like just a click to the audience? Like, I would be able to tell that she was stressed out by her other body language, but I'm like, is the heavy breathing like something else, or is it just another acting choice?
Because they're choosing to do the breathing instead of suspenseful music is kind of what I'm thinking. Because like I feel like
Ooh.
in most other movies, this is like when the music like starts building and like getting you more tense, but it's just her breathing. Like there's no other sound.
That is a really great call. Because there's a couple times in the movie that I can specifically think of where the score is doing something. I think the score is kind of a lot like The Shining, like the ah, ah, like kind of like a low.
Yeah. And then when it gets scary, it goes, "Eek."
Yeah, so maybe. I like that. I'm going with it. I support it. Good job.
I need a raise.
Put it on your
Oh wait,
year-end review.
thank you. I'm gonna write it down as part of my accomplishments. But yeah, I as a person who can't handle certain noises for an extended period of time, breathing is one of them. And so I was like, can we get this over with? I can't handle the sound of people brushing their teeth. Um, breathing is one of them. What's another one? Chewing. If I'm not eating something, why are you chewing so loud? You know, like I'm just weird like that. So there's
No,
others.
I get that and I like it. And to the point that you had mentioned earlier, like about if this guy is relevant to the Longlegs case, I saw like some stuff where like the fact that Lee goes through the house until she finds him, and then he's sitting with his back to her on the bed with his arms up, like his arms are up, but then his hands are kind of put together. Like I saw someone say something that like that's relevant to the triangle algorithm that we'll learn about later. I think like sure maybe they moved him like that just to be like a visual gag, but I don't think that this person is in any way related to the Longlegs case. I think it's just the case that she gave the story like I just felt in my gut that this was the house. It ended up being the house, and then that's why they put her through the tests.
Right. And that's how she ended up on the Longlegs case.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I think they saw her intuition and they're like, we're stuck on this. We might as well pull her in and just see if she can find anything for us. Because my assumption is that this man is obviously evil, in my opinion, because he just shot a stranger for no reason, but he didn't shoot Lee. And I think that was because the devil was protecting Lee. Like, he didn't shoot, he couldn't harm her because she was like under his protection almost. Like, he's evil. And so, like, he can't hurt her because of that.
Maybe. Maybe. And
I
then
don't
that,
know.
I mean, that would lend to my theory that the devil was in that one window.
Yeah, and because she always said like her intuition was almost like somebody was like tapping her on the shoulder and telling her like where to look. And so they could have been the devil in the window saying, "Look over here," and then look at us both
Over
just
there. Um,
what's over there?
um, yeah, because I can't remember if I said it in the last recording. Like I've looked at so many different lists and tried to research and find like a definitive list of all the times that the devil sightings are in the movie, and I can't find anything that has 15 of them. There was something Kayla sent that includes like the doll, because the doll does
Mm-hmm.
have like a part of him. And like, sure, if that's what you want it to be your argument, but there's so many that are that specific, like horn devil, that
Mm-hmm.
I say my rule is that I think that that means that there's 15 of those.
Yeah,
So I don't
I don't
include
know.
the doll in my count, but no, I can't find anybody who has a list, and like even the media publications that are like, there's 15 devils, like here's the list, but then there's like nine of them in their list. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? Nobody's helping me. The
That kind
next,
of leads us.
go ahead,
Oh, sorry. I
take it.
say that all kind of leads us into so after that we see Lee Harker in an empty room with like a screen up in front of her, and over this over the speaker it's like, are you ready to perform this test or something like that. She's like, why am I here? But they're not answering anything. She's like, so she has to do this like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you see these images? And I don't know how she did some of those because that was way too fast for me. I what? I'm
Yeah, they
still
just,
trying to figure out the first one, and she's on number five.
yeah, they just like say stuff and she has to like say all these words. But I wrote down what the words were. Like, and for me, like the images don't mean anything. She's just saying stuff, but she says camera, table, legs, tiger, door, mother, father, piano. And then I saw something else where someone was like, all of those words have some relation to the cases or the plot in some way. So camera, camera family,
Mm-hmm.
table. I don't specifically know. Table, legs, long legs, tiger. Um, at the end of the movie, when Lee is in the bed, when she wakes up before that upside down shot happens, no spoiling for
Yeah.
that part. She's laying on a tiger print pillow.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing where I can find tiger. Door, basement door. I mean, no, there's a lot of doors. Devil's in the
Yeah.
door. I don't know.
Either or.
Um, mother, that will become obvious.
Obvious.
Father, that will become obvious. Piano, I didn't get piano.
The the only thing that came to mind was getting played, like being like played like a piano, but that's a stretch in my opinion. Didn't she
I
say duck at one point?
I
Maybe
don't
I'm
think
crazy.
so. I
I
like
don't know.
ducks. We can talk about ducks if you want to.
Quack quack, motherfucker. Sorry, I don't know like you.
I did put in the notes. Lee
Oh,
is an
is an
odd
odd
duck.
duck.
Maybe that's where you
Maybe
got duck.
it's possible. It's very possible.
Yeah. So, then they say that, they do the word association, and then the voice is like, a number has been generated between 0 and 100 inclusive. What is the number? And she has to do that a few times, and she's like, I don't know, 33, 0. I don't know. And then they cut to, um, we meet Agent Carter, played by Blair Underwood, and then Agent Choi is in there. I didn't write her name down. And then Lee Harker is in the back seat of this cop car. They're talking about the Horn family, which is a family that was murdered, relevant to the Longlegs case. But Carter says to Harker, you beat that numbers generator 8 times. How did you do that? And she says, well, I also missed it 8 times. And then they say half psychic is better than not psychic at all. So this is kind of like the running theme where it's like her intuition, it's a hunch, and then like it's not like a real ability, it's kind of just an
Part of me
influence.
thinks that she failed the 8 times intentionally to not call too much attention.
I don't know that she would. Like I feel like she tries in everything that she does.
Yeah.
So
And
I
she
don't know
doesn't
that
really know what it is. So, I
she's just
guess that's
like,
fair.
I just feel it. Like it's just it is, and it's either right or wrong.
Yeah.
So then we get a little bit of the exposition that there are 10 houses with 10 families over the last 30 years who have been murdered. The father kills the wife and kids and then kills himself. And there's no physical evidence that would imply that anybody else was there except for this coded alphabet letter that they're all signed Longlegs. And then they do like a little image flash of like what all of the letters are, but they're not solving them, so I really don't care. I'm not solving them myself. I don't have the time.
Mm-mm.
That's just like our little exposition dump to be like, hey, here's what's going on. Now we're gonna get into it. So I titled the scene Sent to the Office, and there's 3 parts to this movie. So once we go from the very first scene, and the credits roll, then we have part 1, his letters. So we're still in part 1. And then Lee gets called into Agent Carter's office. Katrina really likes the big picture of Bill Clinton that's hanging on the wall. So that's how you know it's the 90s. But I saw something that was like they wanted to do it a little bit later, period wise, but then Oz Perkins didn't want a picture of George Bush. So they just scaled it back a couple years to put Clinton up there.
That's funny.
So uh, in Carter's office, they have, a big board up with different case files, evidence, photos, things like that relevant to the Longlegs case. And Lee's getting brought into the case. She's just looking at everything. And then she asks, what do all the families have in common? And he's like, that's a great question. All the families have little girls that were born on the 14th. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? Me? We're here.
right before your birthday month too.
I know. It's really, this is why I was like, this is why we have to do it for this month. Like, it has to come out because the movie
Mm-hmm.
released in July and we're in August right now. But if you're listening to this, happy birthday to me. Thank you. And then, Lee, I made this joke. This won't age well, like if you're listening to the podcast 2 years from now, because like our vernacular is changing all the time. But Lee like gets herself set up in this room and she's on the floor, like putting like all of her dates on the like note cards and then like assigning like what happened to what date and stuff like that. So I was like, she's very organized, she's very mindful, very demure.
Can I say I hate that trend right now?
I
I it was cute like in the beginning, and I'm just like, if I hear demure one more time.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll give you the pass. You only said it once. But I'm over it. I'm
I'm
hoping
not
it's
saying it
past
as many
soon.
times as I was last week, if that makes you feel better.
It does. It does.
So there's that. And then we get a little montage of some of the case photos, the crime scene, little things with some of the weapons. We hear a few different 911 call recordings of stuff that's going on when the murders are happening. And then we get the first official Satan sighting, which is so obvious the second time I watched it. Like he's there taking up like a third of the screen. But I was so focused on looking at Lee that I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
hey.
I didn't even see that one, even watching it twice. But I also wasn't looking as intensely, I
I didn't want to
guess.
spoil it for you and be like, hey, look for the devils. So, and then
Well,
I
and
didn't know you watched it twice at that point.
oh,
So
I guess
I
that's
was going to be
fair.
like, go back and watch it for that.
Fair enough. Rachel titled this next scene, "But you can buy me a drink, 123 LGB."
Okay. Well,
I don't know what that
you ruined it. So in this scene, Carter comes in and Lee was like sleeping on the floor and he's like, there's such a thing as looking too long at like the work that she's doing. And then he's like, come on, we're gonna go get a drink. Um, but so this line is from Taylor Swift's song Delicate. We can't make any promises now, can we, babe? But you can make me a drink. And then on the Reputation tour, that I hated saying that. It's the Reputation Stadium tour. That's how it goes. Um, this girl had started this chant that went through the whole rep tour and then into the Eras tour when she sings Delicate. So the beginning of the song is the chorus. So we can't make any promises now, can we, babe? But you can make me a drink. And then the whole crowd goes, 1, 2, 3, let's go, bitch.
So here's the thing. They go to a bar and Carter is drinking, Lee is just sitting there awkwardly, and they're just openly talking about like these murders in public. And I'm like, I feel like people are gonna overhear you, but I really don't think he cares. Um, the other thing is that it bothers me sometimes how like supervisors are like, okay, what did you find or what did you find out? And then you tell them, and they're like, okay, cool. And then they just go do something with that information and bro, say thank you. Say like good job. Like do something. My boss is very nice. She's very like, if I do something great, she tells me. And if I do something great and somebody else uses my work, she tells them, hey, Katrina did that. So just say no. That's how you're supposed to do it. Anyway, moving on. She tells him everything he basically already knows, how the families died. They're all killed with household items. There is no forced entry. Doesn't look like anybody was even there. And then he talks about how it's like how she may, or basically it's crazy and it's like Manson like. And that spurs Lee to be like, well, he had a family, he had accomplices, like somebody helped him. So maybe Longlegs has an accomplice. What
Dun
a
dun
crazy
dun.
thought. What a crazy thought. Not that crazy, actually.
Not that crazy.
Um, but he stands up and is obviously drunk. So she's like, I'll drive. And when they get to Carter's house, he's like, come in and meet my family. And she's like, do I have to? Which honestly, same. Why am I meeting your family at like midnight?
I loved it. It
No.
was so good.
I'm like, that's Yuri because she's like, all the time, she's like, do I have to? Yes, you do. Whatever it
That's
is,
what he
yes.
says. He looks at her and he's like, "Yeah."
um, so Lee goes inside, meets his wife and daughter, who's Ruby. And Ruby's like, you want to see my room? It's such a kid thing to do. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see your bedroom. And so they're just sitting, her and Lee and Ruby are sitting in the bedroom just awkwardly. And they're like, she's like, oh, what's this trophy? Why is it missing a head? And then she's like, is it scary being a FBI lady? And Lee just goes, yes. I'm like, okay.
I know.
She's
Like
honest. Like, yeah,
I I love see this is like what I was talking about. It's like we don't ever get like a break because there's still so much tension and like Lee sits up super straight and she's just like, you have a nice room. Like she's trying to relate, but
yeah,
like she doesn't really want to be there, but she's not being rude. And
no.
then Ruby asks her mom if Lee can go to her birthday party. And then Lee's just like, gulp, I'll be there.
Right. Like, what are you supposed to say? Like, sorry, I have book club. I'm not gonna make no. Children don't care about what you have to do.
No. But
Um,
it's funny.
Rachel made a note. Lee talked about how she wanted to be an actress, and she put, "She's a star."
Yeah. Yeah, because Ruby had asked, like, did you always want to be in the FBI? And she's like, no, I wanted to be an actress when I was younger, but it kind of messes kids up.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like an interesting line, like to specifically put in because Lee got messed up as a kid also. Like this
hmm
is where like the trauma kind of comes in. Like she doesn't know about her own trauma at this point. We'll get to that, but it's very specific to put that in there.
hmm
So I thought it was good.
Yeah, Maxine is the complete opposite of Lee Harker here.
I will not accept a life I do not deserve. Lee's like, here I am.
I'm here again. It's giving very Daria vibes. Did you ever
Ooh,
watch Daria?
I, little clips of it. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but who's shocked by that? Nobody.
Hmm, nobody. What's
Um,
never stopped you before? But yeah, Lee Harker gives me big Daria vibes. So
I
if
can
you
kind
don't
of
know
see
who that
that.
is, go look it up. It's a cartoon.
She's too young for you, bro. She doesn't know who Daria is. And if you don't know, she's too young for you, bro. You're too young for me, bro. Um, I named the next scene Home Sweet Home, and then we see Lee, she's smoking in her car going back to her house. And but I love all the smoking I'm seeing in movies. We are so back because I saw It Ends With Us, and then there's a lot of smoking in that. And I'm just like, we are back to big tobacco running things. Like, I don't smoke, but I love smoking. I think it's hot. So don't smoke, but like if you do, I'm gonna be attracted to you, whatever.
Don't do it.
Mhm. And then it's really dark because Lee lives in the middle of nowhere and she's getting her mail and then hears a noise in the distance and then she looks over and you could kind of see the outline of the house and then like a little windmill on the side. I kind of think I saw a devil on the roof of that other house. Can't confirm. And then when I watched it again, I didn't see it, even though I was looking for it. And I was like, was it this scene? Like, am I making stuff up? Like, I kind of thought I saw one, but I don't know.
In my opinion, I thought that was the mom's house this whole time. I was like, she can see her mom's house from here because it looks like the same height, but honestly, I don't think it is because
I think that's just the
more
style of house. Like,
rural.
there's just a bunch of farmhouses in Oregon.
Yeah, fair enough. I was gonna ask you where this is based, but you already told me, so I don't have to now. Um, I knew they were close to Washington because he talked about the Mariners, and I was like, I googled where are the Mariners from. I don't know. I know the most basic like sport team locations. Okay,
That's okay.
I only care about women's sports. I don't care about men's sports.
I don't care about men.
So she goes inside and she's sitting at her desk, like opening up her mail and stuff, and she calls her mom, and the mom just answers yes. And she goes, "Hi, mom." And that's her opening line to her mom every single time, even in person, like, "Hi, mom." It's never anything different. And she goes, "Lee?" Like a question every time. And she goes, "It's still your only daughter." Like, can we, like, I need this conversation to pick up because neither one of you want to be on this phone right now. Get off the phone. There's like long pauses. They're talking about things that neither one of them care about. Like, what did you do today? Oh, just going through things in the house. Shut up. Talk about something important
Well, don't
or
you
get off the
think
phone.
like obvious the phone calls are very awkward, but when you watched it the second
Yes,
time, knowing like, isn't it like just like put right in front of your face what's going on?
it is. Yeah.
I like it's so incredible.
Yeah. And it's like, I knew there was something wrong with the mom from the beginning. Like, you can tell on the phone that, like, the mom is not normal by any means. Like, listen, my mom's not normal by any means, but she is in comparison to Lee's mother. Okay. I'll tell you that. It's like the whole call is a Midwestern goodbye. Like, you're both trying to get off the phone, but you're not talking about anything. It's just awkward pauses until somebody hangs up. I swear to God. Anyway, I think she cares about her mom. She just has awkwardness in her
Well, they're both haunted, so
that they are. I don't get better. I'm just gonna kill myself.
yeah. So, and then there was where Lee's mom had said like she asked her about her work, and Lee was like, "Well, I can't tell you." And Lee's mom was like, "It's nasty stuff." Well, don't forget, I was a nurse for 8 years. I've seen my fair share of nasty stuff.
That is
So
not where you saw your nasty stuff, ma'am.
it's like,
Liar.
yeah. Um, telling stories.
Tall tales, if you will.
It's just telling tales. Um,
Tall tales, long legs. Just another analogy for another body. Or wait,
I I get it.
another
I see.
analogy. You get what I was saying. You get it.
We got it. We got it. We're here. But then, oh, okay, here we go. Lee is on the phone with her mom, and then she just hears a bunch of banging on her door, and I'm so scared. So, okay. We're gonna segue into a tangent right now, but this is relevant to the story. So, the night I saw Longlegs, that same week, and it was either like that day or the day before. My TikTok shop for my book orders, like I mean, so blessed, so grateful that we went viral, and then we just started getting a ton of orders, and we had a little bit of stock, but we were getting orders like a crazy amount, and I'm so happy and so grateful that that happened, and that has allowed us to make this like a self-sustaining business at this point. We're not taking any money, but we have some money if we need to order stock. So that's always good. Um, but I was just really, 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 really stressed out that night because we had sold out of the stock we had. And when we order our author copies of our books from Amazon, they take a while to get to us. So I didn't know it that day, but that was going to be like a month-long saga of trying to order stock, keep up with stock, and keep up with getting our orders. So that I had a ton of anxiety. I was really stressed out because I wasn't feeling like I was able to fulfill my end of the bargain of shipping the orders that had come, even though I was so happy to have them. And I was just like getting like little pings, order, order, order. And I saw the movie and I was just stressed out. And then that night I was just laying awake until like 3 a.m. because I was so anxious. And then at like 3:15, I'm still like wide awake, just like playing on my phone, like on TikTok because I can't sleep. And then I hear like bang, bang, bang on my door. And I like sat up. My dog was under the bed. Like she came out. I'm like, okay, we both heard that, right? Like, and I was so terrified. Like, I was naked. I had to put on clothes real fast because I'm like, oh God, like what if someone's gonna break into my apartment? Like I can't get found naked. My mom will be so mad at me. Um, but I was so scared, like I couldn't even go look and see what was going on. It was pitch black. Like I called Marissa immediately. She had been texting me like a little bit, so like she wasn't like asleep, and I felt really bad. But she answered the phone, and I was like, "Listen, I just want to let you know that I haven't gone to sleep. I'm fully awake, and what I'm about to tell you is very real." Because she had already seen Longlegs, and I was like, "There was just banging on my door. I'm so afraid." And then I had to Facebook message call her on my laptop so she could still be with me when I called the police because I was so frightened. Because I had heard a little bit of noise in the hallway like a few minutes before, but then I heard the banging, and then I didn't hear the elevator ding. I didn't hear the stairwell door. So I was just convinced that these people were still out there, and it was likely the devil, and he was there to get me. And I was just scared. So called the police. Then they said that they'd actually had some reports in the area, and responders were like out there. And then they called me back and said that there were more calls. And then they came and knocked on my door, and I was like, "Hmm." But that one I
Can
was
we
like,
not do that?
I went and looked, and I then it was a police officer, and I was like, "Are you the devil?" Um, But then he said that there were some teenagers in the apartment complex who were going around to different buildings and like banging on doors. So I don't know how they picked me because like I was also so scared because it's like I live on the third floor of a secure building. So I was like, how the fuck did you get in here? Like, what's going on? So then it was kids. So then they obviously would have had the door codes. So that ended up like technically being okay. But I was so scared. I was so anxious. And then I was up until like 6:30 in the morning because I was just with the whole thing. But it's not the first time I have lived in this building and had like hauntings happening. So I was like, oh, here we go again. Um, so that's what happened. That's why it's relevant to long legs. And I was scared. I texted my mom. I was like, I don't know what just happened. Like there's some banging. I called the cops. I don't know what's going on, but if I die, I love you. And then she like called me the next day. She was like, what happened? Like, are you okay? Like, and she was nice about it, but I was so frightened. So the devil didn't get me, but I know I'm on his list.
He's got your number, your apartment number.
Well, he's not allowed to have it.
Oh, well, you foil it.
I was like, you can't have it. So relevant. So every
Yeah.
time when I watch Long Legs after that event and there's like the banging on the door, I'm like PTSD. Um, but the thing about it with Lee is it actually was the devil there. So she she has this beautiful like log cabin house. Like it's like panels of like logs. It's not like flat paneling, like it's all rounded.
hmm
And a bunch of wide, tall windows, kind of like the one to Stranger Calls house. Like obviously not that grand, but just like there's so much window space.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, baby girl, you're living alone with all these windows open.
Yeah, but
Stop.
she's surrounded by trees.
Yeah. So she can be seen a lot easier than she can see. Then she grabs her gun, she goes to the door and she's like, hello. Nobody answers, of course. Then she goes to investigate. hmm Well, she
Don't leave the
sees,
house. Here's the thing. She leaves the house because she thinks she sees like someone in the woods or whatever. And I'm like, I feel like you're much safer in your house where you know the layout, you can turn a light on, than going outside and investigating in the woods.
yeah, you're right. But there is so she does see long legs in the distance, and then in that same shot, there's the devil above him. So that's the only time you see the two of them together. But
Mm.
he's there. Uh, so she goes to investigate, and then she's, breathing McGee out here,
Mm-hmm.
hyperventilating, going crazy. And then, oh, a side note. So we assume she's taking a shower because her hair was wet when she was sitting at her desk. And when she goes to the door, there's like some curl in it, like just like the way that her hair is laying. But we never see her doing her hair or hear about it. But I'm like, she got some straight ass hair and a ponytail all the time for those curls that are air drying.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then to speak on her hair, I got my hair cut just like her.
Oh
Like, well,
my
I
gosh.
got my haircut after I saw the movie. Like, I already had the appointment set up, and I knew I probably wanted to get bangs again. But then there's this shot that you see. I mean, you see lots of her side profile, but there's this one where she's like a 3/4 turn, and she had the little wispies that
Mm-hmm.
like the bangs go down into, and she always wears her hair in a ponytail. And I'm absolutely a ponytail girly, and I'm like, that's it. So I literally showed that picture to my stylist. I was like, I want this, please. I want it to look like this because I'm gonna put my
Which
hair
is
up in a
funny
ponytail anyway.
because before we started recording, I was like, "Oh, your bangs look cute," and you're like, "Yeah, they do." And I was like,
I said I had a story about it. I didn't say
you
they
know,
do.
I'm like, you said you had a story, and I was like, okay.
Not scary things to talk about during a very tense scene of the movie because Breathy McGee is out there and she turns back towards her house and then you just see the figure of Longlegs like inside her house through the window.
And she locked it again. Like she deadbolt and chained it. I thought when like someone like knocked and nobody answered. I'm pretty sure when she locked it again, she like chain and deadbolted it.
She chained the front door, but she went out the back door.
Oh, maybe
Because
she
when
locked that
she
one.
goes out, like it looks like the side view of the house. Because when she had walked up, there was like an archway.
Yeah, but when she, I guess, yeah, because when she comes back into the house, that door is wide open. Her front door is wide open.
Mhm.
And so she closes it again, and then she finds a card on her desk. And it's a 9-year birthday card. Creepy as fuck. And it's got a coded message, and then it says long legs at the bottom. So Miss Gurley gets to work on the decoding because now she has her own personal letter. She already knew how to decode.
He
She did.
the code or the card had a message in it, like I stand upon the sea. I can't remember what it was. It's from Revelation. But he like wrote it in and then like had like the code underneath it, so I think she just used
It was like
like
a key.
mhm.
Oh, I see. But yeah, so she decoded the message and it basically told her, if you tell anybody how you came upon this, I'll cut off your mom's milky tits till she bleeds to death or something like that. I had to pause the movie and walk up to my TV because I'm like, I need to know what this says. Because I can't see. But yeah, I'm like, okay.
Gross. Yeah.
Fair,
The
fair
way
is
that
fair.
they say tits in this movie is
It
off-putting to me.
It is. Well, and when Nicolas Cage says it in like when after Longlegs gets caught, he goes, tits. And I'm like, no, no, no.
I
That
know.
sounds
And I'm
no.
normally all for tits, but the way that they do in this movie, I'm like, no. So because we're in part two right now, like once she sees the card on the desk, we're in part two, all of your things. So she decodes the letter that threatens her mom, which in hindsight, it's the fucking mom. Why else would Nick
Mm-hmm.
Cage be like, I'll get your
Sure.
mommy?
Mm-hmm.
But I have so the devil appears here too. Like they have oh god, this scene is so fucking scary. So when she's at home talking to her mom, when she's looking at the card, when she's just eating her Cheerios, so she is sitting at her desk that is just facing right outside the window. And then there's like the kitchen door that's like a little bit behind her to the side, and then like I guess the room like L's around into the living room. And it's always done at like a little angle so you can see into a doorway or a window at any given point and you're just watching the whole time like what's going to be back there? What's going to be back there? What's going
Mm-hmm.
to be back there?
I'm not even looking at Lee. I'm at the doorway like this.
Yeah.
Like like you're
and
not gonna get me.
and there is one instance where the devil when she's looking at the card appears over her right shoulder, so the left side of the
Yeah,
screen. Missed that the first time I watched
I
it too, and I
didn't.
was like, "Oh, there he is." So
Yeah, it's so obvious once you see it and you keep seeing it, you're like, oh shit, but the first time I was so tense of like looking at the whole screen, like what the fuck is gonna pop out at me? Like yeah. So
yeah, they're there. Um, and then so this I have an issue kind of with this scene. So it's dark. Lee has her wet hair from the shower and everything. And then one point, so when the door knocked, she was on the phone with her mom and she's like, I'll call you back. And then when she comes back, she sees the card and she's working on it. Her mom calls her back and it's like, are you okay? Call me. And then, but she doesn't answer, even though her answering machine and like her phone's right there. She doesn't. She's focused on her task. But then the phone rings, she answers it, and she's like, Mom, I'm okay. But then it's somebody from the bureau, like, hey, we need you here now. So she says, I'll be right there. But then cut to the next scene, she's got her dry, straight hair, and the sun is up. And I was like, girly?
Yeah, it's like because it was like early morning is kind of what it seemed like, but I'm like, well, I thought when this whole thing was happening that it was like midnight, 2 a.m. because she left Carter's house around after midnight. Then she drove home, and this all happened probably within the span of an hour. So it's like max 2, 3 a.m. And then sun doesn't, it's winter also. So if it's, what is it? Is it winter? No, is it
It's
September?
January.
Yeah. So the sun doesn't even come up till like 8 a.m. I feel like sometimes in winter. So I'm like, 5 hours is not, I'll be right there.
Yeah, I don't really know because there's also in
Maybe,
the
maybe she went to the office. They had a briefing and then she went to the thing. I don't know.
maybe I don't know because there's another thing when she's doing the when she's on like the floor doing all of her like case organization thing.
Mhm.
It was daytime at first when we saw her and Carter in the car and they're talking about the Horn family, and then she goes to his office, and then it seems like it's dark, and there's a scene of her like walking through the hallway, like so it makes me think that she's been there all night. And then so she's walking through the hallway and all of like the main lights are off, like they just have like a few on.
Mhm.
And then we cut to another part and it's daylight through the windows and she's still working, like organizing her stuff. This is all the montage when we're hearing the 911 calls. And then when Carter comes in and says we're going for a drink, there's such a thing as looking too long. Then when they're at the bar, it's dark again. So I'm just like, was she working on it for 2 days or just was the area that they showed her walking through the hall just a generally dark place? So like that
I don't know.
that's like two instances of time that's like throwing me off.
Mhm.
So not that I'm complaining, Longlegs, love you.
Yeah. So when she got the call the next morning or that morning, whatever, she goes to this house, which is very unassuming, but there's like a swarm of FBI agents everywhere. They go inside and they realize that this is a Longlegs murder that happened like a month ago, but nobody noticed because the family was supposed to be in Disneyland, but they never made it. So they she sees the letter from Longlegs and then just instantly like decodes it like do, and he's like, what, like, where did you learn this trick? She's like, I only looked long enough, sir. Bullshit. You should have, you if you had known, you would have decoded all this shit before you got home. Liar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because then
but
he's like, well,
they
you can take a long look at this. And then they show the decomposed bodies that are all in the bed.
maggoty.
I was eating at that point and I was like, I'll be fine. And then I was like, wish I hadn't done that.
Hopefully you weren't eating rice. No.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't eating
Good.
orzo pasta either.
There you go.
I was eating
Yeah.
boneless
So
wings,
I
aka
think,
chicken nuggets.
yes, I think that the cops put the cat in the carrier because he looked good. And if it was a month, he would not look so good.
Okay, yeah. So this like this stresses me out. So this is a quick scene. She sees the family dead, and then like she looks over, and there's a cat that's in a carrier, and it's like hissing, like it's just like a tense moment. But I was talking to Kayla, and I'm like, I need to know that that cat was fine for this month. where nobody was checking on this family.
I mean,
Not
cats
that it
will eat
was
their owners if they're dead, so that's sustenance for them.
okay. Yeah. I like to think that the cat was just out and roaming and fine and wasn't trapped in that
Yeah.
carrier for a
He
month.
if he was trapped in that carrier for a month, he would have also been dead.
I just need to make sure that this cat is well taken care of. Okay.
I think he looked really good. Also, was he hissing at her because like the devil basically killed this family and like she's associated with the devil, so is the cat seeing the devil in her?
Ooh, I
Because
like
animals
that.
have that intuition, and he
I,
didn't hiss at anybody else.
I like
So
that. Yeah.
kitty cat knew.
I'm in. And I saw a theory that I want to discuss when we get to just the regular talking point about the movie. I know we're going scene by scene, and this like normally isn't our thing, but I feel like it's really important. And we're also talking about other stuff. So, like to me, this
Yeah.
is an entertaining episode. If you don't like it, sorry. This is my birthday. Don't
Rachel
DM me.
named this Bureau doesn't have a division for nice things, which honestly, maybe they should. Maybe they should have like a division for, oh, let's recognize all the good things that are happening in this country.
People positive management.
I need good news every once in a while, please and thank you.
Yeah, I feel like it's because the next scene is just Lee on the phone with her mom, and like just like in a hallway, back at the bureau, I'm assuming,
Mm-hmm.
and she's calling her mommy because she had a stressful day at
Nobody
work,
else
and
in
I
her life.
also that. I relate. And then I was like, I would also call my mom if I just saw a bunch of dead bodies and a cat hissed at me. I would be like, Mommy. And her mom's like, Do you want to talk about it? And she's like, I can't say anything. And but she was saying that she got put on this case that's important. And her mom's like, not nice things. And Lee's just like, I don't think the Bureau has a division for nice things.
Mm-hmm.
But then her mom asks, like, to change the subject. And because she had said on the phone the first time at her house, she's like, somebody's got a birthday coming up. Like, the movie's not hiding this at all. Like, we are definitely
Yeah.
supposed to relate that when would Lee's birthday be if they keep talking about birthdays?
Yeah.
But she's like, Am I going to see you for your birthday next week? And you can tell, like, Lee does not really want to. She's like, I'll try.
Yeah. But not really. And her mom just switches subjects again and she's like, Are you still saying your prayers? They protect us from the devil. And Lee just like, Yeah, mom, I'm saying them. Like just to like shut her up almost. She's not.
I think it's to speak, like, to bring up the talking point for like trauma and stuff. Like, we've had two conversations between Lee and her mom over the phone. And she also had answered again. It was just like, yes, and was surprised that it was Lee calling her. So hint, hint here.
Mm-hmm.
But you can kind of see, like, how you had mentioned, like, they're having an awkward conversation. It's like neither one of them really wants to be on the phone, but it's also like, you do keep calling each other and you have a relationship. It's not like a normal, I don't want to say easy, but like just a typical mom-daughter relationship. But it's like when you're even trying to have that, it, even though you don't know what's going on, like there's still like all this influence and like weird stuff in the way. So it's like, what do you even do with what you have?
Well, and I think there's when it comes to like generational trauma and things like that, most people like they look at how they were raised and they decide, do I want to continue this route or do I want to change it? I feel like mom and daughter relationships are hard. And I really don't know why they're so hard sometimes. It's like there's a lot of pressure on it. And I think moms put the most pressure on their daughters. And I think that's also just a general thing because like boys don't have it as strict as girls do. And like obviously there's daddy's girls and that's a very cliche like relationship, but then there's also like there's no term for like a mommy's girl like that I've ever heard. And it's probably because like mother-daughter relationships are hard. Like for me personally, I know that my mom struggles with mental health sometimes and things like that. So like if I want to talk to her, I have to call her. Like if otherwise, like we could go months without talking. But once we're on the phone, like we could talk on the phone for like an hour, 2 hours, like it's not awkward. or anything. It's definitely not like Lee and her mother. Like, no, but it's like ADHD, you have object permanence, like you forget people exist. Unless somebody calls you, you don't remember to call them.
I
Yeah.
definitely relate to that feeling with Lee and what she's going through with her mom, or what it appears to be going through with her mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of where I feel like Lee is making a lot of the effort. And sometimes I feel like I have to make a lot of the effort to keep in contact and keep communication and things like that. And then, Mom, if you listen to this episode, I love you. And you know that. We're just yapping about our lives and making parallels, and it's fine.
See, and my mom does not listen to the podcast, so we're there.
Well, this is about the devil, so she probably watches.
Yeah, when I told my mom that I saw the movie, that I saw it, I was like, it's like Silence of the Lambs and Seven meets the devil. And she was like, Rachel, you shouldn't be doing that stuff. Oh, 'cause, man, I think it was like the night the door knocking and stuff happened. I was like, this is why my mom says I'm not allowed to watch those movies.
Because she knows what's going to happen to you if
I
you
get
do.
scared. I get really scared. Like
Yeah.
devil movies and stuff like that are the movies that really scare me because I mean, I believe in the devil. Like, I mean, I would beat him, but he's still scary.
Yeah.
So the depictions
Well,
they put, because like Jason doesn't scare me, Mike Myers doesn't scare me, Michael Myers doesn't scare me either.
well, and that's the thing. It's like my mom doesn't really like religious horror movies, and she doesn't. My mom doesn't like scary movies. Period. Like she does not watch them unless someone is there to like hold her hand because she is very easily like she doesn't like being scared. Um, and she definitely doesn't like religious horror movies. And her husband, my stepdad, he will not watch. He's like, it's inviting it into our home. I'm not gonna do it. Like he's very much like, I'm not watching that shit.
That's what my
So
mom says. So like when I told her about like that first haunting where like my bed was shaking and stuff like that, she was like, well, you invite that stuff into your house. And I'm like, I do not, because they lose at the end. I
they
watch it
do.
get beaten. Although in this one, who's to say?
Who know the ending? Let me get there, okay? We're gonna talk about it because
In four
I
more recording sessions, we will get there.
I have thoughts.
Yeah. So, then next scene, we've got Lee in like the archives library. She's looking up different information about previous families. And then she makes a little grid for herself with the month and writes down all the days. And um, then she's looking through this like satanic book and then finds an inverted triangle. So the point's at the bottom. And then she folds the paper that she has and she's already like circled the dates of when all the murders happened. So when she folds them, she realizes that all the dates have like synced to being that inverted triangle. And then you hear a bang, another bang, and then she just like looks out the window and there's the fucking devil. He's just
That one was
chilling.
hard to see though.
I didn't see it the first time. I was
I
just
didn't
like,
either. I was
and
like, what the fuck?
I just had no idea. So
Yeah.
yeah, because there's like three or four of them that I didn't see until the end because I didn't know what I was looking for. And then there's a few of them that like I think I see, but I don't know for sure because I can't ever get any confirmation. And then that's all I got. So,
Yeah.
but now that I know, I'm like, oh, it's literally right fucking there, stupid head.
So Lee shares this information with Carter. They decide, oh, there's no 13th. And then they learn about the camera family because Lee went through and decoded all of the letters, and all of the letters, a lot of them talked about a good time at the camera family farm or something like that. And they look up and it was a priest there. Then the dad goes nuts and kills everybody, but the daughter, Carrie Ann, was at school. So she didn't die, but she ended up in a mental hospital. So they decide, let's go check out the barn and let's go meet Carrie Ann. And I love that when Carter's like, well, how far is the thing? She's like, 132 miles. How far is the barn? The family, 89. I'm like, I love her. I can't.
She was on it. She did her research. And there's like, you kind of see like a little smile when she's giving her information. She's like, look at all the work I did. I'm so smart.
Yeah. So they go to the family farm, and they know from the cards that X marks the spot. So they go to the barn, they follow the X's, and they go up into like the hayloft part, which, first of all, ginormous hayloft. Also a very nice barn that has been abandoned for how many years? Red
I know
flag
no
for
one
me,
came in and
first of
bought
all.
it.
Yeah. Well, after that, they're probably superstitious.
No, because then you get it
Um,
cheap and then we start another horror movie.
oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry. So they find a crucifix nailed to the ground, which I'm guessing is their next X, technically, if you slant it, sure.
It's a stretch, but I mean
Yeah.
it literally is just Jesus. So
They pull up the boards and they find this box, and when they take out the lid, you think it's a dead body, like a preserved dead body, but it's actually a disgusting, even more disgusting. It's a life-size porcelain creepy ass doll with human hair.
the eyes open.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it when he sat it up. I'm like, oh, this is one of them creepy ass dolls with the eyes open. And went, oh,
I
I didn't like
just
that.
I just hoped that it wouldn't. And then it really did it. And I was like, fuck.
So they take it to be checked out, and basically they find that it's human hair, it's porcelain, it's very nicely made, like it's professional grade anyway. And they find like a metal empty ball in the head of it, but they don't know what it is. It's empty. They cut it open, there's nothing in there. Basically, he was calling it the brain or whatever. And he's like, it kept saying my ex-wife's name last night, but it's a ball, so it didn't do that. So like he holds like a scanner up to it and he's like, listen to this. And when that happens, Lee starts having visions or flashbacks almost, but it's of Carrie Ann's family being murdered.
Yeah,
So
it's weird, like the back and forth, because at first I kind of forgot when I was taking notes. I was like, are we doing like this actual flashback time? But then it goes back to Lee just standing there. So she's like absorbing all the information like through the little
mm-hmm.
brain. And it's interesting because it's like obviously we would know now because we know that like the devil is in the brain that forces the fathers to kill the families. So if doctor, examiner, scientist, whoever had been hearing his ex-wife's name, like,
Mm.
because the dolls had, they were made in the likeness of whomever the daughter was. So is like, does it matter that this doll was made for Carrie Ann because it's like the brain is still affecting him, or is it like the doll did its job and Carrie Ann's family died, so it can just like pass on? Like, I just think it's like an
Mm.
interesting think piece.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, but
So we see what she sees, but I don't know if she fully understands. But there's a part where we see Carrie Ann in a basement with like a mirror with lights around it. And Longlegs is putting a dark cloak over her, saying, you're not afraid of the dark, you are the dark.
because he's made like the little doll, and he just like you just see him like kind of crouch from the side. Like at this point, we've never seen like his full face, like to look at. Like it's always just like glimpses and motions. But we see that he's in a basement and it's just like a little spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Then we cut to Longlegs is driving in his station wagon. He's listening to his tunes. And then he drives to the hardware store. He's wearing a bathrobe. Like he's just kind of like lumbering around, like being a little scary. And there's this like young teen girl sitting at the desk, and he brings like whatever he's buying. And she's like, is there anything else? And he does the little hand thing where he crosses his hands over the top of his face. And he's like, one hand at a time at the little girl. And he's like, cuckoo, cuckoo. And then that's the first time you like kind of really get to see his face. And this little girl is just not having it. And she asks if there's anything else that she can get him, like customer service. And then he's like, when's your birthday, little angel? And I love this little girl. She's just like, Daddy, that gross guy is back again, which is a funny thing to put in there, but it's just putting more in there that like he's a local, like the like he, I mean, he's very recognizable. Like his face is all like botched surgery. So I saw something, I was doing research on the movie, and Nic Cage's character of Longlegs, like Nic Cage put some inspiration in from his mom. He said that like how when he was younger, she would put cold cream on her face, and she actually used to like put her hands up and be like cuckoo, like just make weird faces at him.
Mm-hmm.
But the character of Longlegs is like an ex glam rocker. That's why there's a bunch of 70s rock music playing. That's like the inspiration for like his prosthetics. It's like it was a bunch of botched plastic surgeries. My theory is because he has all of this like outward appearance and like gravitas in a persona, is like potentially like maybe he sold his soul to the devil to like continue to do this work because he was like getting immortality or beauty or success or something out of it. That's what I have placed as my theory for who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we don't get any like other real background. Like everything is very straight up like this is the movie plot. We're just dealing in a present day deal. But
Yeah.
that's just my thoughts. So then we go to him in his car and he's listening to music. And it's like after the little girl had like called out for her daddy, he's yelling in the car and he's like, Daddy, Mommy. And, but then he says like, unmake me. But he's like still like shrilling. And he's like, unmake me and save me from the hell of living. And I'm just over here like, yes, you get it. Like, I'm down. Like Longlegs, devil aside, very relatable. I understand him.
Yeah, so after that, we go back to Lee and Carter. They turn up at the mental hospital after their visit to the doll barn. Um, and they're talking to the director, and congrats on representation for the gay community.
We got him there. He's like, wow.
The limpest wrist in the room goes to him. Like he's and I love him. Like his character is great. But he's talking about Carrie Ann and how she's been basically catatonic since she arrived. 8 years since he's been there, he's never like seen her do anything. But yesterday she got a visitor and now she's like bright and talking and which is crazy. So they check the security log. And it says Lee Harker, and they're like, "You don't check IDs, do you?" He's like, "That sounds like a good idea." Like,
I laughed. Like that's like really the only time we get like there's like two or three jokes in the movie, but that's like the easiest one. He's like, "Oh, that would make sense," but no, we
we
don't.
don't.
So we don't know who has visited Carrie Ann, but we know who
We
has
will
visited Carrie.
know very soon. Yeah. So Lee goes to talk to Carrie and she has this like old country way of talking, and it's also like she didn't finish school as well because like I'm assuming once her family was murdered, she didn't finish her schooling. So like 9 years old was really the limit to her learning experience.
That would make sense.
But basically she's talking about how like
We are getting the images of like how our family died. So like this doll was delivered and like its eyes glow red. So I see why some people would put it on like the devil sighting list, but not to
I think
me.
they're yellow.
They're red.
The eyes glow yellow. Every time I've seen it, they're yellow.
Definitely red. Are you
Okay, well,
colorblind?
Rachel, are you?
Nope.
We'll fact check that after that because we're running out of time. We don't have time. The eyes glow.
We'll
That
just
we
put that
agree
in there.
on.
I literally wrote that they have red eyes. Why would I lie?
I don't know, but they're yellow. The
Okay.
doll has red eyes, or like I'm talking about the thing that's like covered in black
Yeah, the
and like
doll. The doll has a little shroud, and you can see the red eyes through the shroud.
they're yellow, I think. But okay,
I
we'll
love being
see.
right. It's okay. I'll just be right later. But we're just seeing weird flashes of like what the family is doing day to day. The mom like is staring at the doll, aka staring at the camera to look at us, and then she like takes off her top and like is just in like a bra, and then she's like playing with a knife and like cutting her stomach, and then she's stabbing the doll. Just a lot of weird stuff. Um, And then we see through the doll's perspective, the father kills the priest, and then the father kills the mom. And Carrie Ann is just talking about it's like fine that it all happened, and she would do whatever the man down the stairs tells her, even if that meant killing Lee with her bare hands or killing herself. And like the way you said it, like the old country kind of talk was
Taking a
interesting.
jumpy out the window.
Jumpy out the window until the ground come up to meet me. I'd be just happy as peaches. So it's very odd and bizarre, but it just works. Like it's just a movie. Like she's just
Mm-hmm.
being weird. Lee takes it all in stride. Like she doesn't emote. I mean, she's not emotional anyway. She's just like she's stoic or she's breathing. Those are her two moods.
Yeah.
And she just asks Carrie Ann if she remembers having a doll that looked like her. And Carrie Ann just looks at her and is like, nope. And you don't neither. And
Mm-hmm.
Carrie Ann is played by Kiernan Shipka, who I guess was in a different Oz Perkins movie, so that's why he cast her in this role. I mean, and she's been acting for years and years at this point. She played young, oh, what was the daughter's name in Flowers in the Attic? She played young her.
I think it's also
I,
Carrie.
I was, is it Carrie? I was, no,
One of
no,
them is
Carrie's
Carrie.
the
The young,
little one. Kathy?
yeah,
They're all C's.
yeah. I think it's Kathy.
So
I
she's in
weirdly
a,
really liked Flowers in the Attic. The
I know you
books
do. That's
were really
why
good.
I was like, she's in this. She's in so many other things, but I'm like, you would know Flowers in the Attic. We should honestly talk about that series sometime. Like that one
I
fits
mean,
in
that
our
is kind of a horror.
it's horrific.
That it is on a
So
few different levels.
Lee doesn't remember having a doll, and then it's just beating us over the head when you've seen it the first time. It's like, hello,
Yeah.
don't you know what's going on?
No, I don't.
So then we're back in the office with Lee and Carter, and they're just basically like doing another exposition dump. So it's 20 years later. Uh, Lee and Carter found the doll, and then suddenly Carrie Ann is up and talking out of her catatonic state. And Lee is kind of convinced that the dolls have to be involved. Dolls are used as conduits and magic items in different cultures, like they specifically say that. And then Carter sits Lee down and starts like turning things on her a little bit. And it's a little weird because Carter has been so supportive of Lee, even
Mm-hmm.
about things he doesn't understand. But he's like, isn't it interesting that this case was completely cold and then you came along and then it's flowing like hot lava? And she's just like, huh, I don't understand. And then he starts like prodding her. When's the last time you talked to your mother? And she does not get it. And then he tells her that he looked in her file and Lee's mom called the cops about a trespasser on their property right before her ninth birthday on January 13th. So this missing date.
Mm-hmm.
And Lee's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So then Carter says, like, your next task is to go visit your mother. And then guess
Yeah.
where that is? Is it the house from the beginning? You guessed
It
right.
is.
If you thought it was, it was. If you didn't, it still was.
And it's still white as tits.
Oh my God.
I
It is. It is.
can't handle it. So um we see Lee. She just kind of walks in and sits down and like gives her mom a hug. And I feel like when they're in this house, it's
Mhm.
like a gray tone. Like it's just like dull. It's like almost like fuzzy. Like there's nothing like I don't know how to explain it. That's just how it makes me feel. But like everything's neutral, gray tones and everything. And like even the mom
Like devoid.
is yeah. It's like there's nothing in this house. But there's a lot of stuff. Like her mom is a hoarder. She hasn't thrown anything away, but she's actually the cleanest hoarder I've ever seen. I know hoarders. They're in my family. This is the cleanest hoard ever. I promise you that. I would clean this hoard in a hand. Well, maybe not. I don't want to get touched by the devil. So if the devil wasn't there, I would clean the hoard. Um, we recognize like the mom's voice, like obviously when Like I saw her face and I recognized the actress once I saw her face, but like then the voice hit, and Rachel is going to tell us her story.
Oh, I have a story about Alicia Witt. So when I was younger with my mom, we watched this movie, 2 Weeks Notice, the rom-com with Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant. And I've seen that movie a bajillion times. But Alicia Witt is in that movie as like the physician for Hugh Grant's affection. And just since I saw her in that movie and I wanted Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant to get together so bad. And I was like, this fucking bitch. So anytime I see her, and my mom likes her a lot. My mom likes that movie, 2 Weeks Notice. My mom likes Hallmark movies a lot, and Alicia Witt has done several of those. But then like every time I see her pop up, I'm just like, oh man, I fucking can't stand that bitch. So I remember I had heard that she was in this movie, but I wasn't thinking about it. And then I didn't connect that she was the mom because she's not old. I mean, she's like, I guess
No.
in her 40s, but she's not old. And when I saw her face pop up, I was like, this is what I named the title. I was like, oh, not this bitch. So, I mean, and she's phenomenal in this movie. She's a really great actor. Like, I really don't actually have anything against her. It's just that she played a character in this movie I liked when I was a kid that I hated, so I hate her. So,
Once a villain, always a villain.
yeah, that's it. I have
Yeah.
like it's the same thing with like Selena Gomez. Like, I don't actually have a reason to hate either of them, but I just fucking do.
It's
So,
fine.
it
It
is what it
happens.
is.
Yeah. So she sits down and like starts talking to her mom, and her mom's like, "Will you tell me the honest truth about something?" And she goes, "Do you still say your prayers?" And Lee is like, "No, mom, I never said them." And the mom kind of like laughs, is like, they don't work anyway. And I'm like, that's not where I saw that going at all. But basically Lee's like, let me go cook you something.
So Lee goes in the kitchen and then she is just inspecting the house and she sees like this little tackle box that has like her baby teeth and like it's listed and she's like, ugh, gross, mom. And then she sees a cockroach come out from the basement door and she's just like staring at the door and we get like a little eerie feeling and we kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then you see the devil that's in the door window. I hadn't seen that. That's what the first one I saw where I was like, oh, there it is. That's the devil. And then Lee tries to get into the basement, but the door is locked and there's a bunch of keys right next to that door. But then her mom like calls her and it's like, Lee, it's like the mom tone. So she like has to go back. And then she starts talking to her mom, asking if she remembered her ninth birthday. And Lee is facing away from her mom, and it's just a shot on the mom. And when Lee asks about it, she closes her eyes, and like you can see, like she's got like some kind of a struggle going on. But she's just like, no, I don't remember anything. And Lee says, you called the cops, there was a trespasser. And Lee just says, or the mom says, nope, no trespasser. No one's ever come to visit. No family, no strangers, nothing. And we know that that is not wrong. But her mom says, I may not remember, but I never threw anything away. It's all upstairs, all of your things. It's all in your room. So then we get the part two title, which, if you look back, duh, it's the mom. Like it's just so obvious. Like they just like put it right in
Yeah.
there for you.
And the thing that really threw me is when she said you were allowed to grow up. And I was like, what does that fucking mean? Because like that's a very allowed to is very intentional. And I'm like, red flag,
I feel like that's
red.
what my dad would say. Because
Yeah.
Lee's like trying to push her to get any information. And oh yeah, you're right. Because the mom had said like these are things a little girl shouldn't know. And Lee's like, I'm not a little girl anymore. And she's like, you're not a little girl because you were allowed to grow up. Some little girls aren't allowed to grow up. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
weird. I may not remember, but I never threw anything away, which we can see because it's the same house. And when Lee was in it as a child, like coming down the stairs, like there was nothing in the little entryway,
Yeah.
but now it's all like stacked. Like there's just like a walkway path with boxes all up the stairs, like every room. It's like just stuff and then like a path.
And we could go on a whole segue about how hoarding is almost entirely linked to trauma. And so typically there's a trauma that triggers the hoarding. And I'm going to assume it's January 13th, 19, what you said, 75?
34.
Yeah, that one. So I think that's the trauma that triggered all the hoarding. So
It would make sense to me.
yeah.
So
Um, but Lee goes up and she's going through her she's in her childhood bedroom, she's looking through some of her stuff, and so she
there's
is
devil.
going
There's like
oh
a flashback when she sees the trunk,
oh
and there's a
right.
devil looking at little Lee in the trunk. And then I think Lee takes her trunk home because it looks, I hate to say nicer, but it looks not like a hoarding space
Mm-hmm.
that she ends up being in. So I think that
Yeah,
she's at home. And then there's
she's
another
going.
devil who's like outside the window, like above her while she's looking in the trunk. So
I
we
see, I
get
missed that one.
the devil, they're either like super far apart or there's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. So yeah, she's going through all these photos, and then she sees a photo of Longlegs, and it's just like something zaps her in the brain almost, and like she's got a flashback of the time Longlegs came out um, to meet them, and so we get a little bit longer span of the interaction. And it's like still like from his nose down, like he's like moving his hands awkwardly. And basically,
Because the mom comes out and she's like, "Who are you? And why are you talking to my
yeah.
kid?"
And he's like, I'm a friend of a friend of a friend. And he talks about the man downstairs. Um,
Downstairs. Like
he's
the
you could call him Mr. Downstairs.
I
Yeah.
won't.
And he starts singing, basically saying, like, let me in. And
Let me
then
now, and it
and
can be nice. And okay, I know that like the song has like gone trending, and like you, Mercy even says it to me. Like when I said I was going to download Long Legs because like I loved it and I wanted to like rewatch it and do it for the podcast. She's like, you could watch it not once, not twice, but as many times as I like. Like I have to laugh about the stuff that's going on in the movie because it's still so scary to me. Like it's not funny,
Mhm.
but I have to like I gotta fake it till I make it.
So we see that, and then instantly Lee goes in to see Carter and then gives her a picture of Longlegs and said, that's him. And she's like, don't question me about it. Because he's like, are you sure you want to start a manhunt? And she's like, it's him. Go get him. And that's basically what they do is Longlegs is standing at a bus stop and like tons of cops show up and just he's like, okay. The cop shows up and he goes, get on the fucking ground. And he's like, all right.
Yeah,
He doesn't,
he
he
gave
gives
up.
no shits.
Well, and that's the thing, because it's like, so he was at the bus stop. Like we know he had a vehicle because we've seen him in his station wagon two or three times. Then he's at a bus stop with it looks like a guitar case, glam rocker, and a suitcase
Full of letters.
full of letters and stuff, but he was leaving town,
Right.
assumedly.
I wonder if he knew that they were getting close to figuring him out. Like if the mom tipped him off saying, like, I don't know. The devil may have told him as well. Who knows?
Hmm. It's just a good
Um,
shot.
but they bring him in to do an interrogation, obviously. And when we're seeing a recording of the initial interrogation, and all he wants to talk about is Lee Harker. When am I going to see Lee Harker? And then he starts singing. Well, we learn that his name is Dale Ferdinand Cobble, and he asks to see Lee, and then he starts singing "Happy Birthday" and to Lee Harker, and she pauses it and she goes, "That goes on." The lead investigator, I think, she pauses it and says, "That goes on for a while." And Lee asks, "How long?" And she says, 24 minutes.
Well, and supposedly on like the DVD release, there's going to be like a happy birthday 24-minute version. I don't know, like, does that mean he's singing happy birthday for 24 minutes? I have no idea, but that's like
I
a thing.
That's not something I need.
But I noticed it the third time I watched it, I've watched the movie like 4 times total. I like it. Um, but when he's talking about like how the mission will be continuing, and he's like, and I'll be there, and it's like he'll be there. This mysterious he, aka the man
Mm-hmm.
downstairs, aka fucking Satan, he's like, and you'll be there, and you'll be there, and you'll be there. But like when you because it's a room of FBI agents watching the TV, but when he's like, and you'll be there, he looks at Agent Choi, the lead investigator lady. Then he's like, and you'll be there. He looks at Lee, where she's standing, and then and you'll be there, Agent Carter. Like if you watch it, like it's where they're all standing.
Hmm.
So when I noticed that, I was like, ugh, like good filmmaking, you're so scary.
Yeah, so she ends the video and everybody leaves except for Carter and Lee, who are going to talk to Choi. And Choi basically says there's no physical evidence. The letters match the letters at the crime scenes, but like it's not against the law to hail Satan, basically, like to worship Satan.
Yeah, that's kind of the
Um,
joke. She's like, well, he's definitely a satanic worshiper, but in America, he has the freedom to do that.
yeah. So
A joke, I guess.
Lee asks, she's like, there has to be an accomplice, and he's the only one that knows who it is. And basically, like today is the day. Today's the 13th. So if somebody's gonna die, it's gonna be today. And Carter's like, we have him, we have him. And she's like, there's an accomplice, you fucking dipshit. She didn't say that. That's what I was saying. Um, and Lee asks, where is he? And Choi decides to say downstairs, he's right under your feet. And I fucking hate that because little do we know at this point that he has been under her feet her whole fucking life in her fucking basement. Spoiler, but if you've watched it, you know. But like, I was like, he's also Mr. Downstairs and he's also right under her feet. And I'm just like, it's been like that since she was 9 and I hate it. And I'm like, she's part of it. No, she's not because anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. So we get to the thrilling, lovely interrogation between Lee and Longlegs. There's a lot of L's.
Yeah. And then when Lee walks in the interrogation room, Longlegs, he gets like excited. Like I think the subtitles were like gasping with delight. And then he says again, there she is, the almost birthday girl. And the one thing about Lee Harker that I cannot relate to is being so apathetic about your birthday. I'm like, not me. I'd walk in and be like a serial killer that was like knows my birthday. Wow. But this is where, I mean, it's a very intense scene. Like, it's straight on shots from Longlegs and Lee. He is cryptically explaining that he has a woman accomplice, relates it to the Bible verse in Revelation where there's a seventh she. All the she's have been given a choice. So whoever the she is has chosen to do this dirty work where you were like, it's like a red. And
Yeah.
he points out because like at first when he's talking, he's like telling Lee these things he knows about her. He's like, we had such a laugh when you were 20 and you decided to join law enforcement. And he's like, well, it was only I who laughed, not she.
Yeah. And then it's
Because
like
he won't
she's
say.
like Lee's like, who's she? And then he goes into some other rants. He goes through like the congratulations, you've won a gift from the church.
Yeah, he's
And
like performing. He's like going like from side to side and like
yeah.
putting on this like front. But his work is done now, but he won't be gone. He'll be a little bit of everywhere. Then Lee is like, but who is she? And he just like stares at her. He's like, ask your mommy.
And then he, ugh, I did not see this part coming either. He just sits back a little bit and just smashes his face on the table and basically
Over
kills
and
himself
over and over and over.
over and over. And he just like, he'll take a break with like his face completely bloody and just even harder slam his face on it. Oh,
Well, and it's really great work because like you can see like he like basically breaks his nose, so it's just kind of it's almost like a pig nose where it's just like the
mm-hmm.
slits. But like it's all this plastic surgery work, so things are like shifting and moving around. Like it's really well done, but and
So,
now
Longlegs
part three.
is
Part three. What's it called? Birthday girl.
happy
We're all here. We're
birthday
all in the
to
club.
them.
So
So yeah, now that she has seen that, and the next step is obviously to go talk to her mommy, like he said, because they have no other leads. Carter was mad. He's like, well, he's dead. Like now we have nothing. Um, so Choi takes Lee to her mom's house because she's like, I wasn't gonna let you drive after seeing all of that. And Lee is like, well, it's probably best if I go in by myself and tell her that we need to bring her in for questioning. And then this is where shit goes fucking sideways. Or like, I did not, nothing is confirmed until this moment. Lee is inside looking for her mother. And then when she looks out the window, or no, she hears a shot. But what we see is Lee's mother behind Choi's car walk around and then just pull up straight to the driver's side window with a shotgun and just shoot Choi without warning, without saying a word. So Lee hears that, runs to the window, and then sees
there's a
the
devil there.
mother. Oh, there is. And then we see the mother double tap. As we've learned in Zombieland, double tap is always the way to go. Which I'm like, point blank with a shotgun, you probably don't need to double tap. I'm just saying.
I think we just needed to have Lee see it. Like that's the only explanation I can come up with. Like that woman was dead.
And then McBreathy shows up again. Uh, as Lee pulls out her gun and runs outside and is trying to find her mother. And when she finds her, um, what is her mother's name?
I think it's just mom. I think it's just like the mother. I don't think we have a name.
I don't know. Why do I want to call her Joy or something? Um,
Choi, Agent Choi.
Joy. Joy. So never mind. So we see Lee's mother holding the shotgun up to what looks like a child, like at first glance, but then we see a closer inspection, it's actually Lee's doll. The one that Carrie Ann said you don't remember either. Lee is very confused of what is happening and is trying to talk to her mother, saying, put it down, don't do this, don't do this. And the mother shoots the doll in the head, basically telling her now he's free, so you are also free. I'm assuming now that Longlegs is dead, she can get rid of the doll. Lee can be free. But in doing so, I'm assuming the mother like fucks herself over a little bit. When she shoots the doll in the head, we see Lee and some black smoke come out of her head, and then she faints and falls. And then we also see smoke come out of the ball from the doll's head as well. Kind of like linking together like the link between the doll and Lee.
We have this long narration of just full of exposition, like when Lee is a child, her mom is narrating, once upon a time there was a little girl named Lee who had a birthday. One day a doll maker showed up, made a deal with the girl's mom that she would need to help him with his work so that the little girl would be allowed to grow up, but she wouldn't have to remember any of it. And we see the images that Longlegs came back that night. So let me in now, it can be nice, or I have to come back. And then Longlegs like hog ties the mom, and Lee sees it, and there's like an image of like the big devil. Like you cannot miss this one. And Longlegs tells the mom, like, we didn't have to do all this, but you wanted to fight, so now you have to do all this stuff. And then we get the long exposition that the mom dresses up, brings the dolls as a gift from the church, and then she has to stay there to make sure that the families die, which affects her. And she's like with it, and she's horrified, but she has sacrificed all of these other families so that Lee would be allowed to grow up. So then you have like a mother's love, and it's like, at what cost? But then it's also like,
Right.
I mean, I don't want my mom to make a deal with the devil for any reason whatsoever, but I'm like, what? I want my mommy to love me.
Yeah, I'll pass. Oh, if it means I'm dead instead. Oh well. Like
I'm like, hello, like you're missing the whole point of what I wanted here.
yeah.
A lot of people, I guess, like they don't like the dolls. They don't like that the movie turned from being like a crime thriller to being like supernatural, but love it
I
because it's
don't think
like
Yuri liked that about it. She was like, "Oh, this movie's dumb." Blah, blah, blah. She did. She was not a fan after like. I think she was really into it until it was like satanic, like the dolls possess the like people and stuff like that kind of thing.
it made me lean in even more because it's like we've got like an actual force causing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like anyone can be a crazy person just like killing people, but it's like, no, this is like meticulous planning.
It's ritual. It's like it's it's got like algorithms, like she said, basically.
I I like it. I think as some like for it being something that would happen in a story you hear about, like sure it's really convoluted, but for it being a movie and something that had to be created and planned and carried out to make sense. Like I like it. And like sometimes I like exposition. I'm like, yeah, like tell me exactly what's going on. Tell me who's involved. Tell me why. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can understand all these things, but like sometimes it's nice to just get like that kind of performance.
Yeah, I'm fine with a few questions, but I don't want to have to like pull out my own board and red string and try and figure it out. Like I need you to spell it out for me just a little bit.
So I liked that about it. And then we understand what's going on now. And then next scene, we see Lee waking up in the basement. She's on that tiger pillow. So she's in like Longlegs's bed. So it's like the mom brought her downstairs, which is strange. But then we have the phone ringing and we have that upside down flip shot. Marissa loves those, aka she hates those.
I hate it. The upside down shots, they make me like, ugh. They get me all topsy turvy and I don't like it.
I completely feel that. I feel like it wasn't too
I
long,
think
but
it's
I'm like,
effective.
I like when shots and stuff like that are used with like a storytelling device.
Yeah. Like she's probably feeling like, oh, like she's stumbling a little bit. Like it's almost like she got drugged a little bit, or she's like has a migraine. She can't like fully function. So like the upside down makes sense in
Well,
that
that,
spot.
and then it's also like her whole life is turned upside down. Now she remembers everything. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have that little haze, which has made her like an odd, not
Right.
relational
Distance
person,
kind of person.
distant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. So it's like we've done a physical flip. Like now things are changing. The phone rings for a very long time, and then she goes up the stairs
Yeah.
and answers it. And then it's like the fucking devil on the phone. You're late for Miss Ruby's birthday party. And then so like there's like your link, like I guess the devil calls the mom to tell her where she needs to go. So the mom is surprised when it's Lee calling her because she just is like, oh, it's not the devil. So that's there. And then Lee finds that her mom is gone, her mom's car is gone, but then she finds Longlegs' station wagon and has to drive it. And
And she's losing it in the car, rightfully so, because like a lot of shit just unraveled in the span of a nap, and it didn't seem like it was that long of a nap.
yeah, that's, yeah,
Um,
like you literally wake up and everything's different and you know it.
well, and it's one of those things where like, how did she wake up and know? Like, I feel like I would wake up and be like, okay, this can't be real. Like, this cannot be my life. But she wakes up and she knows, like, oh, this shit's fucking real. Lee arrives to Carter's house and like knocks frantically, because she's like, this shit's not gonna be good. And Carter answers the door, super polite, and Rachel says there's a little devil in the door. I missed that. I'm a
It's
little sad.
truly so quick, but it's like the door closes towards the camera and it's kind of like the door is a window through it. Like you can see the
Uh-huh.
whole thing, but it's like a fourth of a second. It's really like,
I need to rewatch that. I was talking to Faye and Kinsey on the way to volleyball about Longlegs and stuff. And so they are going to come over and watch it sometime. I think that they'll like it. When she gets there, she's like, "Is everybody okay?" And Carter's like, "Yeah, everything's fine." Like Ruby just started opening her presents.
Oh,
And we're like, okay, for a second, maybe everything's fine. But when he shuts the door, his face drops a little bit. Like he drops the mask.
like when he
And
was smiling at Lee.
yeah. And so we go into the living room and Ruby is sitting with a look-alike doll and just staring at it, like not even looking at anything else, just petting it like nothing else in the world exists. Carter sits by his wife on another couch. And then we look over to the right, and Lee's mother is dressed up as a nun sitting in a chair. Lee tries to come clean. She's like, "Carter, it's my mother. She's the accomplice." And he just says, "Sit down." Like, and this is when we're like, oh, fuck. Like, they're affected, obviously. And she tries to talk to him. And then the wife says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot your name," to the mother. And she's like, "It's no worries. I'm a friend of a friend of a friend." And so
And she's like
you can
saying
tell,
it while she's staring at Lee, like, "I'm just a
yeah,
friend." Like, she's so creepy, but everyone's acting so out of character as we've seen them before.
yeah. And Lee's mother even outright says, like, she's already dead, talking about the wife. And I'm like, I don't know if that's, we talked about it a little, I don't know if that's a metaphor, like you said, or if it's like, it's too late. They're already too affected to come out of this kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
that's like what I want to know because the movie plays with like audience gimmicks, I guess,
mhm.
like the smoke, the devil sightings, like there's like a participation award kind of. So I wonder, like her saying she's already dead, like was Anna dead in the other room and Lee was just imagining, or like yours is another option. You're too late, like you can't stop it.
Mhm.
I know that that's what you just said, but I'm just like,
Which one? Yeah.
I like which one really is it? Like I really do want to know. Like what was the intention?
Yeah. And so it's so like, I'm just like screaming, like, do something to Lee. I'm like, literally do anything. And uh, Carter talks about like, oh, we should bring out the cake. And then the mask just keeps slipping more and more. Like he's like, "The fucking cake that you wanted," to his wife. Because she's like, "Oh, do you have to cut the cake?" And he's like, "Yeah, why don't you come join me in the kitchen?" basically. And she goes, "We'll be right back." And he goes, "I will. You'll still be in the kitchen."
Oh, I loved that. Like that is such macabre humor, especially for like the killer to say.
Yeah. Like he's like, "You're not coming back." And then she still follows him willingly. Well, not really willingly, but you know what I mean, to the
Yeah.
kitchen. And so Lee is staring at Ruby, trying to like talk to her or like get her attention. And you just hear Carter killing his wife, the stabbing, and it's awful. And I'm like, oh no, because you know that's not who Carter is. This is not who any of these people are, except for maybe the mother. Um, and then he comes out with the knife and is like walking aggressively. So she yells at him to stop. And then she shoots him in the shoulder. He doesn't stop. So she has to shoot him twice and he falls down. I assume he dies. I don't know.
Mhm.
And then the mother, or Lee, grabs Ruby, pulling her from the doll, like, "Let's go." And the mother stands up and, like, I can't remember exactly what she says. I think she called her mom. She's like, "Don't call me that," with a knife in her hand. It was like gonna go after Lee for interrupting.
Mhm.
And so she has to shoot her mom square in the forehead.
And you see it, like the blood splatter, like it's well done, but it's like poof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then Lee is trying to take Ruby, and so she points her gun at the doll. And when she pulls the trigger, it just clicks. And she tries a couple times and it just keeps clicking. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Stressful.
And then that's the end. That's it. Well, I guess that's not it. Rachel can wrap it up with what the end is.
Oh, that scene.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, like, I like the ambiguity, um, of not knowing, like, an ending, like, what happens next? Like, does Lee take Ruby to, like, live somewhere? Does she eventually just actually destroy the doll? What is her career? Like, what happens to her next? Like,
Right. Because
because
like
we
her
we
boss
cut off,
died.
we cut off so much that we're like, I want to know more. Like,
It's
and that's exactly what a movie
uncomfortable.
should do. It's like, no, 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 I need to know what happened. Like, I'm more satisfied and pleased with my experience because I don't know. So I get to like live in the world instead of just like, oh,
Mhm.
it's all wrapped up. I don't have to think about it anymore. I know everything about it.
It gives you something to talk about because like how does Lee even go back to being an FBI agent like when she just killed her boss in this room? Like, is
And her
she going to be
mother.
investigated? And her mother, like, is she going to be investigated? Like, how does she explain the devil thing away? Like, oh, my boss was possessed by the devil, so he killed his wife and was going to kill all of us.
Yeah.
That's not going to stick. Like, she might go to jail. Who knows?
I did
But
see some theories that it's like the deal that Longlegs made with the mom was still really just like a trick for the mom to be involved with helping kill all of these other people and like what that did to her as a person. Like she
mhm.
was still her, but she knew she had made this decision. It's not that she was evil. She was just like, I have to do this so my daughter lives. So she
Like, because
just
she
like,
could have left. Like, she didn't have to witness it, but I feel like that was part of like the fucking with her to
yeah, like it's her
you're deeper in it.
punishment.
Hmm.
Like not only do you have to do it, you have to sit and watch, like you're a part of this, but then like the devil influencing that final interaction is like, haha, I had your own daughter kill you. I made the daughter feel like she had to kill her mother. And then like potentially does the devil still have power over Lee?
Right.
Like, is it still like a win? So I've seen that theory, but then it's also like, oh, like, well, we know Lee is smart and efficient, would she still just like make sure that the doll was destroyed since her doll was destroyed so she could like help free other people?
It would make sense that like destroying the doll and the brain, quote unquote brain, would snap that tether, possibly like it did with her a little bit. Um, Part of me wonders like Lee only took 3 shots and she had a revolver. So like there should be like at least like 6 rounds. I don't know anything really about guns.
Mm-hmm.
But like she hadn't shot anything previously, like when her mother and Choi and all of that stuff, like she hadn't fired any bullets. I can't imagine she would have an empty, like a half empty gun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I feel like her being unable to shoot was the devil preventing the gun from going off. Like the doll was like, you can't
Protected.
touch me.
Mm. See, we can come up with so many options because they've created such a rich world that we can all of these vastly different results are all plausible.
Yeah. But the mother was able to shoot Lee's, but she said that that was because he was dead. Like because Longlegs was dead, she could be free. So I don't know if because Longlegs was already dead when this doll was presented that like I don't know.
That,
I don't
yeah,
know.
like Longlegs being dead when it actually happens, but then it's also like, okay, so how is Lee just free from like the tether on her brain, but like the mom still has to do its stuff just to make sure that Lee doesn't die?
I feel like
Like Lee will just
the
know about it, but she'll be alive like as her reward for living with the knowledge.
right, and but I think that doesn't probably that my assumption is that the devil's not done with her just because that tether was broken, obviously, because she got the call, she had to witness it. There was like it's still fucking with her, I think.
Yeah. So,
I don't think she's truly free
ooh,
from any
or
of
then
it.
maybe like what you're saying about Lee witnessing all of that happening, then would does the devil make the deal with Lee to keep Ruby
Just
alive?
oh, to save Ruby.
Generational trauma, baby.
I don't think she likes Ruby that much.
I don't know. She went there to save her.
She did.
I
That
don't
was
know.
just the right thing to do, though. Also, she already said that she would go, so she was late for the party, you know? She's a woman of her word.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's just so much to consider with that. And then we get, like, see, this is when it feels like a movie. Like, we get a little, like, playtime for the audience. We get, like, a final scene with Nic Cage appearing as Longlegs in the interrogation room. And he is singing. So, the shot set up, the very last shot is Lee in the center pointing the gun toward the doll, like a little under the camera view, and Ruby like just behind her. And then up on the wall, you see like happy birthday in like the little decoration for the
Mm-hmm.
party. And then it's like slow dissolving while you hear Longlegs singing happy birthday to Lee. And he's just like sitting there, like with his all proper posture. And he's like, happy birthday to you. And then he looks at the camera and he like does a little giggle and he goes, ah, like blows a little kiss at the camera. And then it just goes to like more 70s glam rock. And then the credits roll upside down because that's scary. And then it's also a man downstairs. So he's coming from down to up. Ugh, I don't want him up here. Go back down there. That's Long Legs, 2.5 hours later. Not sorry because I
If
have
you're
been
still
waiting.
here, you're a trooper.
Yeah, good job. Um, and I have been so excited all week to hear all of your thoughts about it because like there's just so much to talk about. Like you're my friend and I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this.
Let me see what my notes say. Let's see if there's anything in my notes that we haven't already covered.
Okay.
Um,
I like that you come with points. I love this.
look, I made a list.
It's a
It's
long
in my
list.
it's a long list, but we've
It's
talked
filling up your
about
whole phone.
a good portion of it. Um, yeah. Oh, one of them was watching this made me think of Silence of the Lambs, which we've talked about, like the tie between the two a little bit. And I was like, oh, this makes me want to be a detective so bad. We talked about how like I couldn't tell if Harker's personality was her of being like cold and short was from trauma, her mom being weird, or the doll thing. Like, is she a Capricorn? Is she
Autistic.
just traumatized? Is she autistic? Is she, what? It could be a combination of all the things.
I saw something about that that was like, it's not that Micah Monroe portrayed her as autistic, but it's that a lot of autistic people can relate to these specific feelings. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's pretty coded
It feels
in
that way.
in action, even if it wasn't intending to be that way. It's like, well, this is the odd behavior
Mm-hmm.
that is still logical. It's just not
Right. There's nothing,
societally, socially. I'm struggling
no,
right now.
man,
Socially.
just skip it. There's like objectively, there's nothing wrong with the way that she acts and the way that she interacts with other people. But as you said, like society wise, you're almost normally like trained to be more pleasant and give when you say no, you have to explain yourself. You have like maybe that's just being a woman in society as well.
Mhm.
Is
Oh,
if
great
this was
pullback
a
to the show
man,
perspective. So
look at
smart.
me go. If this was a man and he was short and cold, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it right now. Like
Ooh,
he's
gosh.
being assertive. He's just, he says what he means. But
He's
if because
just
it's a
being a man.
woman, it's off. It's odd, you
Oh
know?
my God. Oh, Lord, forgive me for my accidental internalized misogyny. That is,
That wasn't a
that's,
note, but I ran around just in enough circles I got there. Um,
no, but it was a great place to go. And I think that that's also really important. Like, it's not just about like, it's okay to be feminist and act this way, blah, 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 but it's like to actually like even just the conversation about the
Hmm.
characteristics.
So it'd be interesting to know if she was or if she was just didn't care to talk that much, which is fine. Um, my next point was the fact that she had been under this like trance and forgetfulness for so long is crazy to me because it's been 20 years and I'm like, she can't even remember her life, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just a short point, but
No, like it
um
makes a lot of sense. Like, what else is different? Because it's like, it's all is this
right. Who
trauma
is
and
she as a
acting that way. But
person?
then, like, you have like a breakthrough, and it's like, who are you going to be later? So it's like, you kind of need like a long legs too, but just it's a spin-off with Parker, even though she is the
They're
main
gonna call it
character. But
they're
like
gonna
they
call
would,
it longer legs. Never mind. I thought it was
oh,
funny.
I don't know what they would call it. I'm not good at names. We already talked about this.
Look, long names, longer legs, longest legs. It's easy. It's right there.
Okay, okay. I could take a trilogy with this
You got a
one.
trilogy. Except for Long Legs is Dead. Maybe they'll do like a prequel to it. Like give us
Ooh,
some
like
like
the
Long
because
Legs
if this mom was
backstory.
the seventh she, like who was the first she? Longlegs, the first
Or
she.
mm,
It's like how do we get started on this whole thing?
because
And what
I'm
happened to
wondering
the last
like,
one that made Longlegs have to start delivering these dolls himself?
or did the first six all say no? And so this is the first woman who said yes.
Oh, also a wonderful call.
So like
Given
how
the same
many
choice, they were all
families has he
given.
done? Yeah. And he said
Ooh,
Crimson and Clover. And
ooh, yeah,
apparently I'm assuming Crimson is blood. So the mom chose Crimson.
yeah, or life, Clover.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Look at us.
You
Full
either
circle.
die or show. Man, ooh,
Um,
I'm gonna go with that's correct. I like your theory. Even like literally, Oz Perkins would be like, "We meant like this. I think this." I'm like, "No, Katrina was correct."
I know.
I thought
Just because I know, because I'm right. Um, my last note though was that the ending pissed me the hell off because if she knew that the doll was affecting everybody and she walked in with her gun, why wouldn't you just attempt to shoot the doll in the head right away?
I think it's like she knows, but it's just like barely brand new information. Like no time to process. She's like, I know I have to get there, but like I have to explain, like, hey, this is what's going on. Like,
But like when nobody's listening to you, you just gotta do what you gotta
but
do.
but she's not that way. She's very methodical.
She thought too long.
She looked too long, looked long enough. So, okay, well, then sure. If you want to be a misogynist and just blame Lee for the way that the ending happens because she's traumatized.
I'm not blaming Lee. I'm well, a little bit, but that doesn't make me misogynist. It just
Okay,
makes
okay,
me
okay, okay. How
critical.
about how about this one? It was in the script, so it gave us an opportunity to be an audience and participate in actually witnessing everything because everything else was done through like doorways or like a doll's point of view. It's like we just got to see it happen. Like we had to witness it too. How about that?
I can use my imagination. I don't need to.
Well, honey, they gave us a lot of ways to use
Or
our imagination for everything after that. They just told us this one thing.
they could have done a gotcha to where it was like we saw all the things that happened, and then like it was her intuition, right? And then it flashes back, and then she's like, "Oh my god, I can't let all that happen." Bam, dead doll.
Breaking Dawn does.
It could work.
She Final
Or
Destinations.
yeah, but if my theory about the doll not letting her shoot it was correct, then honestly it wouldn't have worked anyway, but it was worth a shot. Didn't. Thanks.
Oh my gosh. This is that is so funny. That's a good one. I can't wait to leave that in. So, I mean, yeah, what else do we have about long legs? I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time, but like,
A long time.
I really, oh, my biggest takeaway, please, somebody. find for me the definitive list that there are 15 devils because I feel like I've been lied to. I cannot corroborate that there are 15 devils in this movie, and I cannot find 15 of them.
I on my next watch, I will look for you. So I will
I have watched
try.
it twice and like I've rewound a couple times. I've paused. I've literally got up from the couch to go like stand and study the frame at my television because I'm like, where is this motherfucker? What? I find more than like eight or nine. I can't remember.
If we find them all, we should make a YouTube video of like, here are all the devils, blah blah
I
blah. Because
looked
you
there
probably
and all of them, it's like all the double sightings, but none of them have 15. But I'm like, does nobody see the thing that says that there's 15 of them in there? So there must, I mean, I guess they just could be lying to me. And
it's
apparently I
also
am
possible.
very gullible. So maybe they just told me it was 15 because then they know I'll watch it because I'm crazy and I want to find and win finding 15 of them, but there really aren't. Like, it's like putting a
It's
carrot
very
on a stick on
possible.
someone on a treadmill.
Yeah. I wouldn't run
So,
after that carrot though. You gotta get something better than that. But I know what you mean.
yeah, I just want to win and I feel like a loser.
Together we can win. I'll
Okay,
look.
Cheetah Sisters.
I
I'm losing.
prefer Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, honestly.
Yeah, because Blake Lively's birthday was just the other day. And I don't care. I do not care what anybody is trying to talk shit about her
I
for
was
the
wondering
press
how
on It
you
Ends With
felt
Us.
about that.
I don't give a fuck what anyone is trying to say. I love Blake Lively. And honestly, everything they're saying, it's so fucking tired. I literally don't care. Like, she's perfect. I'm obsessed with her.
I mean, I feel like at a certain point, like, I don't know, like you can be the mean girl and it's fine. Like she's rich. She doesn't have to be nice if she doesn't want to be. Like our opinions do not make her less rich,
Well, I
honestly.
mean, there is that. I think some of her stuff, I can see how like people looking for it to be rude, but I have the same very, very, very dry sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just believe that she actually means it as a joke, but it's a very harsh joke, but it is
Yeah.
actually meant as a joke. And if somebody's in the wrong way, they're just not gonna accept the intention.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I mean, and she's not perfect, and that's not for like literally every single thing, but like enough that I'm just
I still
like,
need to watch
get over it.
the movie, so we'll see. Was it
I
good?
thought it was so great. I mean, I know we read the book and I'm not like a big fan of the book. I'm like, yeah, like this is just an understandable story. I get it. I guess like there's controversy for the author. I've seen this stuff like that and I'm just like, okay, like it doesn't affect me my life to hate this person so vocally. So I'm just like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
indifferent. But I read it, it was
Yeah.
fine. am seeing the movie because I love Blake Lively specifically. I would not like go out of my way to have watched an adaptation of this book if it didn't have her in it. So
Fair enough.
I'm just like, it's whatever. But then watching the movie, I'm like, perfect. Like this, of course, doesn't have every single detail from the book, but like it's an adaptation. It's not going to. That's also one of my criticisms about people who are hating on the movie. I'm like, what do you want them to do? It's a 400-page book. Um, But I'm like, this is just perfectly passable. This is a movie that you could sit and like really focus on, or it's a movie that like you could turn it on Sunday afternoon and like clean your house and like you'd stop and watch for a couple seconds, but you'd mostly just listen and do other stuff and still have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those.
Speaking of other movies, what are we going to do for October?
Oh, incredible segue. Great job. Okay, well, what should we do for October? I mean, it's
Nightmare Before
hopefully,
Christmas.
is that
I
to you? Is it a
don't know if
Halloween
that's
movie
truly
or
a
a
horror.
Christmas movie to you? Or is it like truly both? More so than just
It's truly
marketing.
both.
Okay.
It's both.
Like the
Yeah.
feeling and vibe when you watch it, it feels like it applies to both to you.
It feels more Halloween than Christmas, but it's about Christmas.
Okay.
Have
Okay.
you seen
That's,
it?
ma'am, we literally watched it on a boat together, like in with bubble snow and lights flashing.
Oh, we did. I forgot
We
about that. That was a good
literally
time.
like that was the best movie experience. Like I had seen the movie like once or twice before ever in my life and like not, it's not my thing. But like when we watched it on that Disney cruise, it was so fun.
It was lovely.
And we didn't expect that there was going to be like a 4D experience. And we were just like,
No.
whoa, like that was great. I was thinking the other day, because I like watched a cruise video and they were talking about like a drink package. I'm like, we didn't get the drink package when we went on Royal, and then there isn't a drink package on Disney. It's like I had so much fun with you, and it wasn't about the party. It's just like it's really cool that we're just like friends and like hanging out with each other.
Yeah. And who needs alcohol when we're at the party
I'm
itself?
like, we are dumb enough. Like we don't need help.
No, not at all.
Every episode, people can tell we're fine.
You're like, Jesus Christ, just pick a fucking movie already. I'm tired. I get it. Me too.
This is
Okay.
why that lady commented, like, I'll give it to you. You're committed. It's like, we need to be committed. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Now we have no time. We have to pick a movie.
Movie. Okay.
October. October. It's like the true spooky.
Spooky season, Halloween.
Because I'm like, if we're gonna do like an October movie, I feel like it has to be like Halloween.
Because last year we did Halloween and Friday the 13th.
Well, because there was a Friday the 13th. Now there's a Friday the 13th in September.
How much time do we have left?
Because we got to pick on the podcast, otherwise we'll be fucked. I mean,
Hocus
like
Pocus.
classic. I mean, Hocus Pocus is one. I would honestly be down for that. That's fine. We also watched that on the cruise, but it wasn't in 4D. It was just the movie. I was a little disappointed because I felt like there was a lot they could do.
They set the expectations too high.
Yeah, because it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we went to go watch Nightmare Before Christmas. Like it was just something to do in the middle of the day. And I'm so happy it ended up being like fun. Like fun, not just sitting there watching a movie. Because like they had that in the middle of the day, and then the nighttime show of Hocus Pocus in the same theater where we thought that we would be like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do with it. And then it was just the movie, and I was like, oh, I was like, you gotta give it to me all the time. Down for Hocus Pocus. I mean, classic. It potentially could work. Texas Chainsaw, Final
We did
Destination.
talk about that probably because we're gonna have to come up with something.
Yeah, we know it has a theme to it, so we gotta pick. Okay, Halloween. Halloween has a theme. Come on. We've done Scream. Can't do. There's The Faculty with Josh Hartnett. Sixth Sense. I mean, they play it for Halloween.
Oh my goodness, my stuff is being slow. Ernest Scared Stupid. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen it. Okay.
It's funny.
Fucking Terrifier. I will not. Mary Kate and Ashley, double toilet trouble.
Just in case that we run out of time, we should say goodbye because we have less than a minute.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Longlegs episode. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. Bye. Thank you guys for listening. We hope that you enjoyed our episode, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Find us on Twitter or Instagram to request a movie or even just to discuss your thoughts at Booze and Boobs. Or send us an email, boozeandboobs@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're working on turning this into a thing. So if you can please follow us on Patreon, our account there is Booze and Boobs also.
And what are some of the benefits to joining our Patreon?
Oh, Katrina, I am so glad that you asked. As a patron, you will get early release episodes, bloopers, mini episodes where we showcase scenes from the movies that we're talking about or just conversations that we're having that we had to cut from our recording.
All that and more. And they're fun tiers. You can be an A cup, a C cup, or you can join the Triple D Plus group like us.
We truly appreciate your support, and we look forward to growing our following to create more content for listeners like you.
So we'll see you next time. Or else.
Yeah, let's end it with a threat.